and Bucks. Every day. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily with Steve Sparky Pfeiffer on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network.
Welcome in. We are live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Steve Sparky Pfeiffer, Charlie Usen, other side of the glass. Happy Wednesday to you. Hope all is well in your neck of the woods. Jack Stern, Brewer fanatic, he'll join us coming up at 2:20. Lots to discuss concerning those Milwaukee Brewers against the New York Mets last night, a lot of which has already been discussed here today on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. So we'll dive more into that coming up at 2:20. Game 2 between the Brewers and Mets coming up tonight. I'll be hosting the leadoff show from 5 until 6 this evening. Then I'll be back on the air for the Potawatomi Sportsbook postgame show tonight, 8:30 to 10 or 10:30, depending on how long the game goes. Tim Allen and myself tonight for the postgame show. So while I've been gone for a couple days, you get a full dose of Sparky upon the return today. Lucky you. Coming up at 3 o'clock, we'll talk more about the Brew Crew. Charlie Sounds of the Day at 3:40. We'll see what he's whipped up for me at 3:40 with his 3 most fun clips from around the world of sports. Green and Gold update at 4 o'clock. We'll hear from Brian Gutekunst from earlier today. Interesting thoughts on Josh Jacobs. We'll get into that. And a whole bunch of other stuff, including things that we may have missed on today's show, coming up at 4:40. Packers and Cardinals having an inter-squad scrimmage going on up in Green Bay earlier today. And probably in the last hour, 2 hours or so, it's been going on up there. And we're going to start off talking about that. Now, I'm going to bring my guy, Charlie Usen, in here because he played college football, all that fun stuff, like I always say. I'm sure you guys are sick of me hearing say, oh, Charlie played college football. I know you say it every day. But these type of situations here is something we talked about before, where a lot of people think that these aren't as good as originally thought. Then I saw Mike LaFleur come out and say that they found out, I don't know who did the research for the NFL, but the coaches were told that if you have 2 joint practices, that's like having 2 preseason games. So that's why all of a sudden now you've seen teams peel back to having 1 or no joint practices this year. That's part of the reason. Everybody else, I think, or a lot of people thought it was because of all the fights and getting out of control, and people didn't want guys getting hurt for utter nonsense when it doesn't count to begin with. Why are we going to get guys hurt for in fights? So I think that was part of the reason. Matt LaFleur scheduled this one with his brother, Mike LaFleur. Why? Because he trusts Mike LaFleur is going to have his team under control, and we're not going to have craziness popping off here. If you schedule that against, other coaches, are you as certain that they're going to have their team under control? Probably not. So you schedule it with him. They have based on everything we've seen, a come to Jesus meeting with everybody before this thing, and pretty much say, hey, look, you want to get into a fight? It's going to cost you snaps in the game. Could cost you the game, the preseason game. So if you're fighting for a roster spot, may want to think twice about that. That's great for them. For the starters, it means jack nothing. If I'm the starting defensive tackle and you're the starting guard on week 1 and there's no threat of you losing your job, I'm not playing on Friday anyhow.
Well, but Matt LaFleur the other day had said that if you are a starter and you get into a fight like this, that you are going to play on Friday and that you're going to have to re-earn your spot no matter who you are, which I don't know if that's 100%. If Jordan Love goes and throws a punch, right, he's not going to be Jordan Love playing that game. He's not going to have to earn his spot over Tyra Taylor or Callum McCord. No, that's not happening.
Absolutely not. So that's why I say. So, I mean, that's pretty and nice and all of that. But realistically, going into this thing, I don't think that was part of it. The other part of this is going to up against different guys in different uniforms that aren't your teammates, aren't your friends. Like, okay, now let's see if our stuff works. Our defense has been playing against us the whole camp, kind of knows what we're running while we're running it. They're not going to know. So let's see how effective we can be in this whole thing. I think that is great, and that can be a learning experience. This Packers offense today with Jordan Love cooking to start. Cooking. Matthew Golden doing things. Watson, Tucker, Kraft looking good. He's doing things. Everything's going just fine. And as it went on, it wasn't as fine as much as it was anymore. And Jordan Love maybe came back down to earth a little bit with some interceptions and so forth. That happened. And part of, again, I'm not in Green Bay, right? We know this. John Kuhn is. So listen to 9 to noon tomorrow with John Kuhn and Rami Makloff. He's there on the sidelines. He'll give you a firsthand account of what he saw tomorrow morning from 9 to noon here on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. So I'm just going off of what everybody else is throwing on X, just like you're seeing. But it appears some of what's going on with Jordan Love is some of what you expect to see from Jordan Love. Throwing 50-50 balls, taking more chances. And if we go back to Aaron Rodgers just a couple of weeks ago when he was talking to the media of, hey, man, if you're not throwing interceptions in training camp, like that's not a great thing necessarily. He's like, you need to learn your boundaries. Like, what ball can I fit in there, right? Can I fit this ball? Let me see what happens if I throw a jump ball to this guy. Can he win that jump? Like he threw an interception today to Wiley, the tight end, on a 50-50 jump ball, according to Andy Herman. Well, damn. I mean, I better not see you throwing a 50-50 jump ball to the tight end Wiley in a regular season game, right? So when you see stuff like that, you kind of check it out like, whatever. Who cares? Like that when you see him make mistakes and throw interceptions, that doesn't bother me. I'm just being honest. Now, if you, and I know there are a bunch of you, are anti-Jordan Love, then you're just on interception. He sucks. Start Kyler McCord or start McCord, the kid from Syracuse and Ohio State, who also did not look good today either, by the way. Still and yet, there's no chance he's making this team.
I keep fighting for him to at least make the bet. I think Tyrod Taylor could potentially, maybe, but he keeps having bad days this week, and that's throwing me off. I asked Ryan Wood about it, and he goes, "There's nothing he can do in this last game." I was like, "Darn it!"
No, McCord's done. There's no chance. Practice squad probably, because I don't think anybody's even gonna want him.
That's what Ryan was saying. I was like, you really don't like. He's played well enough in the games to where maybe somebody gives him a shot as like a third string if they have a bad quarterback room.
Speaking of playing well enough in games, I don't know what Trace Mack's deal is. But damn.
Nobody cares.
He stinks again today. He's like 2 for 5 or whatever it was.
He's kicked well in the two games.
He stinks again today in practice.
He's kicked well in the two games. That's all people get. And that's for these players. I said it. Mason Crosby has talked about it already, that for the kicking position, that like the preseason is probably most important to them out of any position on the field, because you need to be in those real game time scenarios. You need to be able to kick in different moments at different points in different stadiums. And at practice, you just don't get that all the time. It's a lot of the same kind of environment that you're focusing with, and you are trying to do different things. It's kind of like Jordan Love throwing interceptions to some degree. Is he's going to kick a little differently in practice to see if he can figure out a way to feel more comfortable in those moments. But in the two games where he's been in places that are a little different environmentally, he's kicked really well.
Yes, and that's great. But this is the thing for me. Do we know of another kicker that can kick outside of regular season games or outside of preseason games? Like, do we have evidence of another NFL kicker that went on to be highly successful that for whatever the reason stunk in practice every week, but was able to make kicks in the game? Do we know of this? Like, for instance, there are some guys that just aren't good practice players, right? But are really good when the lights get turned on, because for whatever the reason, they can't get themselves up enough to focus enough in practice or whatever the case may be. But when the lights turn on, their attention to detail and their focus comes up really nice and shiny bright, and they're balling. They're great. So I know there are players like that. I'm just saying I've never heard of a kicker being like this one way or the other.
Well, and how often are you paying attention to kickers during the preseason for any other team?
Well, like, you're right. Yes.
Like for any, so you wouldn't hear these stories, because unless it's a huge storyline, I don't think you're listening to that. I think most people just pay attention to how they kick in the games. Like that's just the reality of the situation. So yes, you may not have heard it, but I don't think that's because it doesn't happen. I think it's just because people don't care about what's happening with kickers.
Maybe. But again, I don't cover all the other NFL teams, right? I'm not.
But you generally know how the quarterback battle is going in Atlanta. Sure, you're paying attention to stuff like that, like other positions you're paying attention to on these other teams.
But if you're in fantasy football, you're kind of paying attention to kickers too, because you're going to need a kicker at some point, one way or the other, but not to the same extent. Like I don't think
a lot of people are going to draft a trade. Like they'd rather just go Brandon Aubrey, go with the guys they know first.
Sure. Yeah. Absolutely. Yes. Okay, so he's Charlie Houston, Steve Sparky Pfeiffer, Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook, talking more about this Packers scrimmage today with the Cardinals. They were in a 2-minute drill, long 2-minute drill. All the way down, Jordan Love throws what should have been a touchdown pass. Matthew Golden drops it, right? And Matthew Golden, at that point, had been balling throughout this thing. So I don't want to dive too much into this and read too much into how they did against the Cardinals one way or the other. I will say, from what I can tell, it appears it's more of the same for the running game, which is nothing. Like, they have struggled to run against their defense in training camp practices, and they struggled again today, it appears, unless I'm missing something, to have really gotten going on the ground again today. And who knows how this is all going to play out. But you've got Aaron Banks over there at left guard. Okay, fine. But then you've got Donovan Jennings running with the ones.
Which is that's terrifying.
And then Jagger Burden gets a chance to run with the ones. Andy Herman's like, it appears, at least right now, Jennings is in front of Burden on the depth chart, potentially at left guard. So, again, you have Friday, last preseason game. Then you don't play Saturday, Sunday. You don't play the next weekend. That's like your bye week. And then you start the following week against the Vikings. So, in the next couple of weeks, and you're going to have cuts, right? So you're going to have the next couple of weeks to figure this out. The fact that we are sitting here right now today with all of these questions about this Packers offensive line still, I think, should be very concerning. That has to be a concerning point of all of this.
It is, especially when, again, Jagger Burton was supposed to be this guy that you keep hearing all off season is this 5th round rookie who can come in and be a starter right away, which I think already concerned me a little bit that he was getting that much hype. As much as that's exciting and good for him, there should be almost no scenario for a team as competitive as the Green Bay Packers that a 5th round rookie should be coming in and having that type of ability right away. And now he's getting beat out by a guy that last season most people didn't even know his name, but he just kind of stuck around the practice squad on the backup roster when guys started getting injured. Donovan Jennings was around there, and now he's in this competition all of a sudden in the last week of the preseason. That's terrifying. And I think it helps them a little bit that this whole Josh Jacobs situation hasn't been figured out yet, because then that they can at least blame a non-effective running game on that at the end of the day and say, well, the offensive line we were just trying to figure out, but we don't have our all-pro running back. That's the problem.
I'm gonna tell you right now, Marshawn Lloyd. I'm gonna say his name. I said it. Okay. He has more wiggle in his game than Jacobs does at this point. So if you don't have a great offensive line, of those two, Lloyd has a better chance of making somebody miss than Jacobs does.
Yeah, but
if we're being honest.
Lloyd has also not been able to break a tackle, it feels like, this entire preseason and through training camp. So if the offensive line can't block, he's just getting hit in the backfield. Wiggle doesn't matter.
It should be interesting. Here's another one for you, Andy Hurt. Down the field, gives up the touchdown and the 2 for the loss. Now the Cardinals' second defense picks off Tyrod Taylor to win that drive.
Come on, Kyle McCord. All you got to do is be semi-good, man. I think you have a shot.
But the thing for me, again, talking about this is, I just don't think we should all get overreactionary necessarily.
We're just getting too close, though.
Saying, oh, it's finishing. Man, it's a joint practice.
Yeah, but you're getting too close to the season.
It's not the same thing as playing 4 quarters and making coaching adjustments back and forth at halftime and then adjusting again as the second half goes on. And then your adjustments don't work. The other teams do, and then you lose. That's what was happening with the Packers. In a joint practice, I'm not there saying, oh, well, they lost, the way they did, so they don't know how to finish still. I'm not there.
I don't know. You shouldn't lose all 4 reps of the 2-minute drill that they did, 2 on defense, 2 on offense, and apparently they got killed all 4 of them. That's all a problem, especially when that's been a problem for you in the past. And yes, you don't have the halftime adjustments. No, you have adjustments after almost every single play. And yes, I know they're running through the 2-minute, but the coaches are working through that. You get another drive right after it. You're making those same kind of adjustments. You need to win at least one of those, in my opinion, to show that at least you're taking that step forward. You're too late in this preseason to be messing around with failing in those moments. You should start practicing or have been practicing what you need to look like on game day in week 1. And it feels like this moment is what we're going to see on game day in week 1. And that can't be the case when that's been your problem for the past couple of years.
On the defensive side of the ball, they're facing Jacoby Brissett. This isn't Kyler Murray. Mm-mm. This isn't Caleb Williams. This isn't anybody
Jacoby
like
Brissett,
that.
Actually, if I remember correctly, has the most completions in a game ever. So he's a legend, Sparky.
Shut up, Charlie. So that's the thing in all of this is you didn't get picked apart by a Hall of Fame quarterback. It's not Josh Allen there. It's not even Jared Goff, for God's sakes. Like, if it's Jared Goff, it's like, okay, that's a high-level quarterback. They've won the division. They've done some stuff in the playoffs. Whatever. Okay, fine. Jacoby Brissett is a career backup quarterback that they're essentially using as a placeholder for the time being until they get a real quarterback in the draft. So that part of it may be a little bit concerning. But again, folks, we aren't game planning. We aren't doing any of that other stuff like you would in a regular season game. Like, all of this has to be taken into account. Coming up next, Jack Stern, Brewer fanatic. We'll talk about what happened in that Brewers-Mets game yesterday, because there is lots to talk about. Straight ahead, Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here. Welcome in, Wisconsin Sports Daily. Steve Sparky Pfeiffer, Charlie Usen, hanging out with you here on a Wednesday. Hope all is well. Time to switch gears from the Packers to the Milwaukee Brewers, who stumbled and fell all over themselves last night in New York against the David Stern-led Mets team. Joining us now, Jack Stern from Brewer Fanatic. Follow Jack on X by Jack Stern. As well as follow Brewer Fanatic at Brewer_Fanatic. BrewerFanatic.com is an amazing website. If you don't go there, you should go there. They have amazing content day in and day out that you're not going to get anywhere else. So definitely want to check that out. My guy, Jack Stern. Jack, I want to start off first. He joins us, by the way, guest hotline powered by Gruber Law. One call, that's all. I first want to start off with a little bit of a background on you, Jack Stern. Can we start off there first, if you don't mind?
I don't know if I really want to talk about myself. Do we have to do that?
Yes, we're going to talk about you. I want background. Give me your background in baseball, not background in covering the Brewers, but your own personal baseball career. Give me your background.
So actual baseball career did not go very far. I like to tell people that I was such a bad baseball player and such a bad athlete that's the reason that I'm doing what I am now. I couldn't even play high school baseball because I was such a bad baseball player. So that was kind of when I started realizing if I want to stay involved in this game that I love so much, I got to find some other way to do it. So that's when I started getting into a little bit more of the new school stuff, a little bit more of the numbers, trying to find unique ways to break down the game. And I did some blogging for a few years just on the side and on my own page, and I was at Brooker Ball for a little bit doing some stuff there. And then I joined Brewer Fanatic a couple of years ago, and I got the credential and the press pass and got to kind of build it into everything that I do now. And then along the way, as all this was happening, I got into kind of the coaching side of it on the college side, more specifically, finding ways to kind of integrate the numbers into the eye test and integrate it into coaching and kind of find a way to mix it all together. I've had some people say to me that really with where the game is right now, that you kind of have like the old school faction, and then you've got the new school faction, the people who like to use the numbers and all that stuff. And it seems like a lot of times those two groups are kind of butting heads a little bit. So I've heard some people say that there's kind of a need for people who can kind of bridge the gap a little bit. And I guess that's what I try to do with my stuff.
So you have MLB teams right now. There was another story out, the Marlins wiping out their human being scouting staffs, going more on video and so forth. There's a lot of teams that have minimized their scouting staffs. There are other that still have robust human being scouting staffs with a bunch of dudes and women that are scouts, Yankees, the Rays. There are still some old school organizations, but more and more are getting rid of it. Well, why? Well, I mean, you don't have to be a rocket scientist here. You are saving payroll. You're saving money. If I'm taking rid of all those full-time positions and so forth, and I feel like I can get the exact same thing done with video work and numbers and all of this, I'm saving the organization money. Now, the one thing that all of these numbers do, they cannot tell you about a individual person as far as work ethic, drive, character, all of that stuff. Numbers aren't going to tell you that. They're just going to tell you what the player does on the field, but they're not going to tell you if the player runs hard every time or all of that stuff. Cooper Pratt yanked out of that game. Murphy after the game was like, hey, he's not lazy, but this has to be a learning experience and so forth. I have a issue, I guess, with this. And I understand the same rules don't apply for everybody at your job and so forth, right? Some people can get away with certain stuff, others can't, depending on who you are and so forth. But, man, it's real hard for me to listen to Pat Murphy tell me that, oh, boy, this is how we do the thing. You run hard all the time, and this is how we play. It's Brewers baseball. And then I hear Cooper Pratt after the game, and he's telling me, guys are pulling me aside saying, hey, man, you got to run hard, man. That's how we do it. And then I watch William Contreras jog to first base on a grounder, and I'm supposed to believe this is Brewers baseball. See, that's where it falls deaf to me from Murphy. It's like, okay, so you're going to pick on the young kids, you're going to pick on the rookies and try and set an example. Is that going to set an example for William Contreras? No, because you're not benching William Contreras because he's too damn good at what he does, behind the plate and everything else. So the rules apply to some players, but the rules don't apply to necessarily all players at the end of the day, Mr. Jack Stern. What was your take on Cooper Pratt?
So I think there's, as with anything, there has to be some nuance here. And I think it makes sense that William Contreras is not expected to go 110% running out every single ground ball that he hits because
He's a catcher.
he's the starting catcher. He's got to catch 135, 140 games a year. That takes a toll on your body. I also think if you look at the way that William Contreras is built, he's kind of a little more of like a boxy, muscular kind of guy. And sometimes those guys can be a little bit more prone to pulling things and having hamstring injuries and soft tissue injuries. I think back to like Eric Thames when he was in Milwaukee several years ago. He had a lot of problems with that. So I get it. I think that you can have a different set of expectations for different players depending on what their role is within reason. When I look at that play specifically, though, with Cooper Pratt, I don't think that was bench worthy. I really don't. I think if you watch what happened on that play, I think that he got blown up by a pitch inside. He got jammed. He kind of just stepped off the plate for a second because he got jammed. He thought he popped one up foul. He saw it was fair. As soon as he did, he started running. Was it 100%? Probably not. But really where I disagree with Pat Murphy on this one is Pat Murphy made it sound like he should have been on second base. I don't think he should have been on second base there. Carson Benj in right field, even if that ball was not played great, that guy has one of the best arms in baseball, and the Brewers have the scouting information on that. So I have a hard time believing that Cooper Pratt should have been on second base.
If Cooper Pratt gets thrown out at second base, Jack Stern, is he mad at Cooper Pratt because he advanced from first to second and was too aggressive? Or is he like, well, good try, Cooper. I know you got thrown out, but good try there. Like, is he in the doghouse either way if he gets thrown out?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's in a favorable position if he gets thrown out. I think what happens is if he runs as hard as he can and rounds the base, he has to slam on the brakes as he rounds the base, and then he's not in a very athletic position to either take the extra base or get back to first. So
yep.
I think it was fine. I didn't see any issue with that. It sounded like Pat Murphy was also kind of miffed that Cooper Pratt has not been getting bunts down, which my argument to that would be I don't know how much Cooper Pratt has been asked to bunt both in the minor leagues or even in his life, because he's always been one of the better players on every team that he's been on, and he's 21 years old, and he's not the first guy that we've seen come up to the big leagues and struggle to lay down bunts for Pat Murphy, but then get better at it over time. I think of Joey Ortiz. So I personally disagree with how he handled this one, but at the same time, I've said this a lot. Like I will not hesitate to, criticize the way Pat Murphy pushes his relievers with workloads. Like I thought it was a bad decision to try to chase a win with Aaron Ashby and with Senzatella when you're on game 1 of 16 games in 16 days. I think that's pretty irresponsible. So I'll question that. I'll question some of the in-game strategy. This is one of the areas where even if I disagree with him, I'm going to give him a greater benefit of the doubt, because this is he has always been very good at the intangible side of things and managing the clubhouse and setting the standard and doing all this kind of stuff. So for me, it's a difference of if it's in some other areas, I will say not only do I disagree, I think he's wrong on this. This one, I will say I disagree, but I do think he probably has earned a little more benefit of the doubt here. And I could hear an argument from him and kind of see where it stands, because this is an area where we've kind of seen it before where he has benched guys when I don't think he should, and it works out fine. So maybe that's what happens again here. I do have a little bit of a harder time fully agreeing with this one.
Talking with Jack Stern, Brewer Fanatic. Follow him on X by Jack Stern here as he joins us on Wisconsin Sports Daily. Steve Sparky Pfeiffer with you. What about the Jackson Chourio at bat towards the end of the game? Because people were asking Pat Murphy about that at bat and whether or not he's going to face repercussions for his at bat. A lot of people, I was listening to our Potawatomi Sportsbook post-game show last night saying, look, if you're going to punish Pratt, then shouldn't Chourio getting punished for having a god-awful at bat in that scenario as well? And of course, Murphy was like, well, no. I mean, we're 130 games in and da-da-da-da-da. And quickly came to Chourio's defense of like, there's not going to be any repercussions for Jackson Chourio. I don't know if there should be repercussions for a bad at bat or not. Like that one I've not seen before. I've not seen anybody get punished for a bad at bat. Was it a good at bat? No. Was it a bad one? Absolutely. I don't think there should be repercussions for that either, Jack.
No, I don't think you ever should. I think any repercussions, and I'm saying this as someone who coaches at the college level, I think any repercussions have to be limited to just effort level stuff or perceived effort level, because anytime that you start – creating this fear of failure for a player. I mean, that pretty much goes against how baseball works, right? Baseball is a game of failure. You're going to fail even if you're one of the best hitters 7 times out of 10, maybe more,
Right.
depending on what kind of hitter you are. So anytime that you're doing something that introduces a threat for, oh, you had a bad at bat, you can't do that. That's not going to bring out the best in guys. So I do think there is a distinction there, and I'm going to agree with him on that one. You should not be ever really be benching a guy for a bad at bat, no matter how bad that at bat was. I mean, if it's strictly performance based and it comes down to, hey, you're having too many bad at bats and we got to put somebody else in there who's going to be a little more competitive, fine. But you can't just circle one at bat and say, I'm going to bench this guy because he chased 3 pitches out of the zone, no matter how frustrating that at bat may have been.
I think the other part about this, where people are frustrated with Murphy, is okay, fine. So you took him out, but why wouldn't you just put Hamilton at third then and let Joey Ortiz, play shortstop? Is that something? Because Hamilton's throw was god awful and rushed. I don't even think that's. I mean, you weren't a great high school baseball player, or whatever else, but I mean, every coach teaches you the same thing: make sure the ball's in your glove, set your feet, make the throw, and. I mean, I'm not quite sure anything was set by the way Hamilton made that throw.
We've kind of seen the duality of David Hamilton lately, where and it's been the story for the entirety of the season and the entirety of his career. This is why it hasn't come together for him.
Yeah,
it's insane athleticism, like off
at
the charts,
second base. That double play where he cuts in front of the shortstop, steps on second, and throws to first. I've never seen that in my life.
Yeah, so you see that he's capable of doing some things that very close to nobody else in baseball can do because he's so quick and so athletic and so explosive. He cannot harness that, and he does not. It seemingly has not been able to develop an understanding of how to use that, how to understand where he is in space, understand how much time he has on a play, because every time he has a play where the timing gets a little iffy, and a lot of times it's plays that are easier than the highlight reel ones. And I'm not saying that was necessarily the most routine play, but it's one that's got to be made. And those are the plays where if he starts rushing himself or he loses a sense of what he needs to do, he just can't harness that athleticism, and it turns into missed plays like that one.
So looking back, Murphy's never going to say he made a mistake, even though Hamilton, sitting there making that throw was horrible. And that's Ortiz. That's never going to happen necessarily. But can you say that decision to pull Pratt cost him the game? Is it that black and white?
So it's hard to ever pin anything down to a single moment or a single decision in a baseball game because there's so much that happens in 9 innings, let alone, or even 9+ innings if you're playing extras. You can circle all kinds of different moments, so I'm never going to put it on one thing. That was a very big contributor, though, if you look at the way that game shaped up, because you had Hamilton in the field for that misplay at the end. You had Hamilton coming up to bat in a big spot against a lefty late in the game when it would have been Cooper Pratt's at bat. And I'm not saying Cooper Pratt would have got the job done there, but Cooper Pratt against a left-handed pitcher, or even if they stick with a righty against Pratt, I would probably take that matchup over David Hamilton left on left. Even though he put a not terrible swing on the ball, he hit like an 80-mile-an-hour line drive that Francisco Lindor had to extend for. But bottom line is, I don't want to pin it on that decision because I don't think you can in a baseball game, but you can look at something like that and say that changed a lot of circumstances late in the game in some very pivotal high leverage moments. So it absolutely was a factor.
Dustin May on the mound tonight for the Milwaukee Brewers, and not a great outing his last time out necessarily, a very downtrodden Dustin May after the last outing. What went wrong in the last outing versus what went right in that first outing?
Yeah, I think he just was not very competitive with finishing guys off, getting ahead in counts. It was interesting because post-game with all of us in the scrum, he said that he thought his command was fine, not great, but fine. I'm going to have to disagree with that, and who knows, maybe that's a guy who was still kind of in the heat of a bad outing, and it's never easy to talk to the media after a bad outing, so I want to try to give guys a little bit of slack, and maybe he went back and he looked and he could kind of reevaluate and see it for what it was. There was a lot of soft contact. He was not hit hard. He had some bad luck. He also did not put himself in a great position, though, because like I said, it was not good command. He was mostly spraying the ball all over the place. He was behind to every hitter. When he did get to 2 strikes, he couldn't finish them off. He only had 2 whiffs, and both of those whiffs were to Cal Rowley, the last batter that he faced in those 2 innings. So he's just got to make pitches a little bit better. And, I'm not a believer that you need to make a perfect pitch all the time, because that's not really how pitching works. Like, if you look at where these guys locate, very few guys are dotting stuff on the corners all the time. But you got to be in the strike zone. You got to be able to get ahead, and then you can kind of expand and put guys away. So I think he's going to be fine. I think he just had an off night.
One last thing that has been a talking point and just popped up in the Dugout YouTube chat from Enconson2302. Runners in scoring position is the difference in almost every game they win or lose this season. If you go and you look at, batting average with runners in scoring position, I think they're top 6 in baseball right now. Again, we're watching the same team every game. We're not watching every team in baseball with their struggles with runners in scoring position. Everything gets magnified because we're only watching one team. So I completely understand that. But do you think that essentially could be the death of them in the postseason, is their ability to hit with runners in scoring position? Because I'm pretty sure every team can make that same exact statement.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at what correlates to scoring runs, hitting with runners in scoring position is always one of the things that correlates most to scoring runs, because that it just makes sense, right? Guys on second base, that's when you're going to score your runs, unless you're only hitting home runs. So this is something that every team goes through. Most teams, when they are not scoring runs, a lot of times it's because they're not hitting it with runners in scoring position. This is not a Brewers specific issue. It's something that they've been one of the best in baseball at for nearly a decade now, as hard as that might be for some people to believe, because again, every team is going to go through the bad stretches. And I think everyone in general is more prone to remembering the bad stretches with runners in scoring position. I think you can maybe look at the last few weeks and see that maybe they've been pressing a little bit during certain stretches in that spot, and that probably contributes to it. But to me, this also does tie back to what I've said before of, this is why it really helps to have the long ball in your back pocket, because there are no teams that are always going to hit with runners in scoring position. I don't care how good your approach is. I don't care how good your situational hitting or whatever you want to call it is. Every team is going to go through this, especially for maybe like a series at a time or a week at a time. Over the course of the season for the Brewers, they tend to be pretty good at this, but they're not going to be good at it every time they play. And this is where, when you're any team and you're in that stretch where, hey, we're just not getting the situational hit, this is where you got to have the ability to just pull out a big homer sometimes, because that helps you overcome that. And it means that you're not entirely reliant on always keeping the line moving, always having to string at bats together. And it goes both ways. You can't always be reliant on the home run ball. You can't always be reliant on making something happen in exactly the right situation, in exactly the right order. You can't do either one of those things and not have the other one in your back pocket. So to me, this just comes back to why the Brewers don't score a lot of runs in the playoffs. You got to have the ability to do both. When they played the Cubs in the NLDS last year, they did both, and they won that series. When they got to the NLCS against the Dodgers, who have really, really good pitching, that dried up their on base, that dried up their ability to string things together. And then they didn't have home runs to fall back on either, and the whole thing just fell apart. So that's the way that I view it.
He is Jack Stern, one of the best. Follow him on X by Jack Stern. Follow them on the X at Brewer_Fanatic. Again, BrewerFanatic.com. Great content. Go check it out. You will learn a lot, I promise you, because nobody thinks about stuff the way they think about stuff, or at least not casual fans. At least people like Jack do, but the rest of us definitely do not. Jack, thank you so much, buddy. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you got it, man.
Take care. There he is, Jack Stern, joining us on the guest hotline, powered by Gruber Law. One call, that is all. Potawatomi Sportsbook, 2,000 square foot center screen, 2 levels of seating. They got high top tables. They got booths, like 8-10 people in a booth. I mean, they are big. They got 2 rows of leather recliners to go along with it. Always tell people to reserve their seat ahead of time. You just don't know, man. That place gets super busy. You reserve it ahead of time. Yeah, it's a nominal fee, but it goes towards your food and beverage costs that night. So you're going to spend that money anyhow. Go to Potawatomi.com to do that. Also, shuttles to and from all home games for the Brewers. All you got to do is make a $5 or more same game day wager. Right there, the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Ask for your bracelet. You can hop on their shuttle while you're there. Pre-game it up maybe a little bit, right? Or post-game after the game. Come on back to the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Full menu for their Potawatomi Sportsbook kitchen. Homemade pastries and desserts. Over 40 beers on tap. Dozen different specialty cocktails. And everything is finger-licking good. Wait, that's somebody else. Who was that?
Is that
Finger looking good? I don't know. I know somebody said it.
KFC, right?
Maybe. I don't know. I just threw it in the Potawatomi Sportsbook thing. I was talking about it.
It's
After
theirs now.
I said it, I was like,
I think it's
wait,
KFC.
I think that's somebody else. Whatever. Potawatomi Sportsbook. It is amazing. Trust me on that. Check them out today at Potawatomi.com. Easton Butler was a topic of conversation earlier today on Wisconsin Sports Wake Up Call. He has a list of potential guys out there in the rumor mill for trades. For all kinds of different NFL teams. So we're going to dive into that a little bit. Coming up next, it's Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here. Wisconsin Sports Daily. See Sparky Fifer, Charlie Hughes, other side of the glass. So I wanted to bring up this Easton Butler tweet from the other day. Some names floating around the trade block. Now, if you follow Easton Butler, we've had him on this show multiple times. He has been pressing, what's the guy's name? Josh Sweat.
Yep. Josh Sweat, the defensive end.
Right, from Arizona, who got activated to be able to go out there and play in this joint practice and so forth. And earlier on in the offseason, he was pressing on the issue that the Packers and Cardinals were talking about a potential Josh Sweat deal. And then I think it was Ian Rappaport that came out and shot that down. But that tells you how much pull Easton Butler has if you have a national guy responding to you getting a ball of steam on that one. Now, man, remind you, he's also the first one in the Micah Parsons thing. So either way, he is not letting the Josh Sweat thing go. Like he's not letting it go. He's like, oh, well, let's see if Josh Sweat can play well today against Green Bay and see what that does. Do they still need Josh Sweat as much as you thought they did now that we've seen, some training camp, a couple of preseason games, still no Micah Parsons? Are we still convinced they still need that guy?
Yes and no.
What does that mean exactly?
Yes, because I still don't feel like I have any more faith than I did in the pass rushing group before the preseason. Like, it doesn't really feel like they're exciting me at all. There's not one player standing out too much. The defensive tackle room has been a little bit more exciting. I've been more happier with that, but that doesn't really matter as much until Micah Parsons comes back and loads up that defensive line. I think the reason I say no, though, is because there's a couple other positions that I'm still more worried about now, and especially now the interior offensive line. If you can go and make a trade there, I'd rather you go and do that. And frankly, cornerback, where Easton Butler also has some names that apparently the Packers are sniffing around on. He had about 3 guys. I know it was Joey Porter Jr., Kool-Aid McKinstry for sure were 2 of the names that maybe you could go there, especially with the way Keyshawn Nixon has bounced up and down. Carrington Valentine, you haven't really heard anything spectacular about him.
He hasn't been bad, though.
But Brandon Cisse, I think, is starting to play really well, and that's really exciting. And maybe you want to capitalize on that and trade for another cornerback to give him a little bit more stability next to him as well. I think there's just 2 other groups I would look at to make a trade before edge rusher right now.
It's interesting. You look at this list, cornerback-wise, there's really nothing. I mean, it's Valentine, Keyshawn Nixon, and Paulson Adebo from the Giants. So there's really not much there. On the offensive line, they're tackles. Evan Neal, Walker Little from the Jaguars. So those are guys that play on the outside.
Jaguars offensive line, I saw a video of them versus the Buccaneers defense line, and they were just getting eaten up by everybody from the Buccaneers. It was bad. I don't want anybody from that team.
Right. But my point is, if you were to go get an offensive tackle, then you would move Zach in from right tackle to right guard potentially. If you think you have a tackle that is good, they don't have to be great, because you would make a big time improvement to right guard if you're able to move Zach in from right tackle to right guard.
Unless he got too comfortable at right tackle, and now you mess up his mojo by moving him back into guard, which is what happened with Elgton Jenkins.
From guard to center, and got all screwed up, and he was horrible. And then he got hurt, and that was the end of that. So I don't think that there's anything you really can do at this point necessarily in the offensive line. You're going to have to rely on what you have until you get to the point of cuts. Then once you get to the point of cuts, then you can see, okay, look, here's a 12-year veteran that got cut because they want to play their younger guy instead, and they want to move off of him. Maybe then you get that. Everybody wants Kevin Zeitler. I don't even know if Kevin Zeitler is healthy. I haven't heard.
He says he wants to play one more season. That's the only
that's
thing
great. But
new.
He's got to come in and show that he's healthy and can manage to play one more season, right? So that's my thing is I'm open to Kevin Zeitler coming in, the former Badger, former NFL offensive lineman. I'm cool. I'm just saying, like, nobody knows if he's healthy or not. Wide receivers, Keyshawn Abute, as I like to call him, he was traded, so he's no longer on that list. Keon Coleman is still out there in Buffalo, possibly. I think they're fine at wide receiver. Tight end is something interesting here, right? Because you just don't know about Luke Musgrave or everything else that you have behind Tucker Kraft. So does an Evan Ingram potentially float your boat at this point to get him from Denver? Maybe. Trey Benson's on this list at running back. He's been released, so he potentially is out there. You don't have to trade for him if you wanted to go improve running back. And again, we'll hear from Brian Gutekunst coming up at 4 o'clock. He talked a little bit earlier today about this whole Josh Jacobs deal going on for the Packers. And how they are handling the situation. I'm not quite sure. It sounds like Josh Jacobs is not going to have some type of suspension.
seems like the Packers are preparing for.
I
that.
feel like that's what it sounds like. Yes, that's what it sounds like to me. So we'll hear from Brian Gutekunst coming up. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Steve Sparky Pfeiffer with you.
Some shows talk about one team. Other shows barely talk sports. This show will talk Packers, Brewers, and Bucks. Every day. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily with Steve Sparky Pfeiffer on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network.
Yeah! Oh, man, it's what day is it?
Wednesday.
Wednesday! I'm fired up.
Sparky's been gone forever. We were saying that he might not come back.
I love y'all, man. That's because I was doing like 3 shows a day, and then Friday was a scheduled day off. So that was scheduled for this event.
It was fun, by the way, out at Natty Oaks. It was a good time.
Yeah, good. You enjoyed it?
Yeah, it was a good time.
It's good.
Everybody was wearing kind of a Sopranos looking shirt, so everybody was making fun of me. But I think I'm going to start wearing more like that style shirt. I want to be in my Sopranos era, Sparky. I decided.
I am completely lost. Sopranos hasn't been on the air in how long?
Yeah, but it's an awesome show. It's great. I love The Sopranos.
I've
seen
watched
it twice all the way through.
I've watched a half of an episode.
That's it? That's all you've ever seen?
Ever.
That makes sense.
Half of an episode, didn't watch it again. Not saying it's not good. Just saying I've never sat there and literally dedicated time to binge watching. Like,
I think you'd like it. I think you would find it interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. I might. So does that mean coming in here, you're going to start wearing, like, you're going to be like, change your whole persona?
Yeah, I think I might. Yeah.
Really?
Grease up the hair and everything. Couple gold chains.
Hey, man, I used to have greased back hair and wore a gold chain back in the day.
I could see it.
I used to, yeah. But that's why I got this horrible colic now that sticks up front because it's for so many years of combing it straight back.
Well, I'm going to have a bad one too because I wear hats every day. So
right.
Bad choice. So.
Yeah, exactly. So that was good. And then Brandon Snide filled in for me yesterday.
Tim Allen
on Monday. So thanks to both of those guys for filling in. Those were not planned. I mean, I was working. I just wasn't on the air working because my minivan that continuously broke down again after being broken down twice in the last 3 weeks prior to that. And now today I found out I need a transmission for it. Yay!
So I think it's fun.
So fun. Holy crap. So I got that weighing on me currently. So anyway, so thanks to everybody for filling in. All right. So this hour, Charlie Sounds of the Day coming up at 3:40. Looking forward to hearing what he has cooked up today. In the second segment, we've got to talk some about college sports. I don't know how much everybody else talked about this. I've been listening on and off all day in and out of meetings and whatever else. I haven't heard a lot of this. But we're going to talk about what's going on because Charlie is getting his wish. What Charlie has been begging and pleading with these college conferences, NCAA to do, they finally started to do yesterday and last night. So we're going to get into that at 3:20 because literally when I saw the Big Ten, I was like, oh,
even
Charlie.
the NFL has now made a statement.
I know.
Too.
The Big Ten's like, I've had enough. And I thought of you as soon as I saw the post. I was like, oh, Charlie's calling it. Charlie said this is what they should have been doing the whole time. So we'll get into that coming up at 3:20. But it is 3 o'clock. So I would like to start here.
It's time to talk about the crew. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network.
I would like to do a temperature check if y'all would oblige me. I'd like to do a temperature check. The Milwaukee Brewers, thanks to the Cubs choking away a game last night, the Milwaukee Brewers set at 5.5 games back. And I was listening to the Potawatomi Sportsbook postgame show last night with Tim and Aaron doing a great job. I heard Steve Zabin call Aaron Morris Code. I like that.
That's what we've all been calling. Apparently, Mitch has a new nickname that he wants to try to work out, so you're going to have to tune into the wake-up call tomorrow morning for Mitch's new nickname.
For Aaron?
Yeah.
I don't think Mitch gets to make a nickname. Mitch
has made it like everybody's nickname.
He doesn't work with them.
Yeah, but Mitch has made everybody. I guess I work with Mitch a lot more now, but he gave me the gentle giant. I like that.
Yeah, that's good for you.
Yeah,
I think that's very fitting for you.
Exactly. So he's got a knack for it.
He does. Morris Code's really good though.
Mitch Thunder Nellis is the Pat Murphy of nicknames. I trust him.
I'm not there. I'm not there with Murphy, first off, and whatever you want to say about Thunder. I want to do a temperature check with y'all, with your Brewer fans. Because I haven't been here, so just friends and family, essentially what I've been talking about, right? Y'all getting worried about something, Brewers fans? Y'all getting worried, a little nervous? Because last night I'm listening to the postgame show, And Tim's like, oh, what's going on with the Cubs? And Aaron's like, oh, it could be 4.5. They're up 4-0 right now. And then Tim said something, and then Aaron kind of came back with oh, it's getting tight or something along those lines. I was like, what are we doing? Why are we getting nervous? Why are you getting scared? Why? You're on pace to win 100 baseball games. Not even having to get hot to win 100. You're pretty much at like playing 500 to win to get to 100. Like 4 games over, whatever it is. So you have that in front of you. Why are you all so scared? You all act like you haven't seen the Brewers ever be good in the last 20 years. You're all acting like this is the CC Sabathia year with Fielder and Braun, and you're trying to break 11-year, 13-year streak of not being over 500, and you haven't been in the playoffs in 26 years, and you're waiting for the other shoe to drop to screw us from getting into the postseason. That's what y'all are acting like. You all aren't acting like a bunch of winners. Y'all are acting like a bunch of scaredy cats reacting to this every time they lose. Oh, they're going to lose to the Cubs. Oh, they're going to blow being the best record. Oh, they're going to end up in the wild card round. What are we doing? Try acting like you've been there before, Brewers fans. Just let's try to act like we're not scared for once. Please. Could they lose to the Cubs in the playoffs? Yes, they can. Could they lose to the Dodgers in the playoffs? Yes, they can. Should we be running around with our tail between our legs for the next month, worrying about losing to either one of them until we actually get there? Probably not. Probably not. You don't know how healthy the Dodgers are going to be by that point. You don't know how healthy the Cubs are going to be. And you most certainly don't know how healthy the Brewers are going to be at that point. By the time you get to the Dodger series, Ohtani could be hurt again and gone. They could have lost Mookie Betts. Who knows what the situation's going to be? And I already have gray hair, but y'all are giving me more gray hair, worrying about this crap. Like, I don't understand what we're doing. And listen, when I was in my 20s, even my 30s, and Tim Allen be like, join the ride, Sparky. Quit stressing and overreacting to everything, getting mad after every loss, blah, blah, blah.
Now Tim just freaks out after every loss.
Listen, and when he said that, I didn't have anything else going on in my life. I lived, eat, breathed, and breathed this radio station where I was. And technically, I think people in my family would say I still do. But that's what it was. Do I get mad after certain losses? Like, damn, they should have won that game. They screwed that up. And do I yell still when a big play happens and go crazy? Yes, I do all of that. But this is not the same team as it was 20 years ago. Like, this team has shown for the last couple of years, they're amongst the best in baseball. This team has shown all year long they are the best in baseball all year long. And because you lose a series or you lose 2 or 3 games in a row does not mean the world is ending. They suck, fire everybody, and nobody knows what the hell they're doing. Like, we've got to stop. We sound like we're nuts. And I know we're not nuts. Been here my whole life. I know we're not a bunch of nutcases, but we sound like them right now. Every other fan base is like, hot damn, man, what are the Brewers doing? How do we get to be what the Brewers are? I've seen some of the top talent in Pittsburgh, on-air talent, complaining about why can't we figure out to do what they do? Screw the fact that we're not going to spend a ton of money, but we are now. But why can't we build our farm system like theirs? Why can't we have international signings like them? Like, this is the role model franchise for everybody not named the LA Dodgers at this point. Do you want to know what David Stearns is doing in New York other than losing? He's trying to rebuild that god-awful farm system he inherited and trying to get them on the path of being consistently producing guys throughout so he can make trades, so he can build from within. That's what he's trying to do, potentially at the expense of the big league club, but that is the process happening. Matt Arnold came from the Tampa Bay Rays, where they have been doing this like the Brewers have for quite some time. And him and David Stearns put this together. David Stearns left. Matt Arnold said, I'm going to draft differently. I'm going to start drafting for power, while David Stearns did not care about power. And the farm system has changed. Now you have several power hitters that are coming to fix the power shortage that they have on the major league roster. And they will be here within the next year or so to come and help this roster out. Why are you freaking out. Just sit back and think about this for a second. They're 5.5 up. I know. The Cubs series starts Monday. By the way, what is that all about? I started working on our September staff schedule. Why are they all night games at Wrigley? All 4 games.
I noticed that, yeah.
What is that?
They want them all prime time, I guess, for some reason. They want everybody to be able to watch every game.
Again, I'm old guy, but Wrigley's daytime baseball, man. 1 in the afternoon, businessman special, whatever you want to call it. And we play a 1 o'clock game. And I was looking like, oh my God, all of these are nighttime games at Wrigley. And I'm sure it's cool to watch a night game at Wrigley. I'm not saying it's not, but when you think of Wrigley Field, you think of daytime baseball. Anyways, besides the point. So you've got 4 games.
3 of those games are national games.
Lovely. So you got those 4 at Wrigley. Then you get, 3 against the Reds. Then you get 3 more against the Cubs. Now it's your place. And then we're back dealing with the Reds or whatever. So, yes, you have 7 games right now, and you have a 5.5 game lead. You have 2 games today and tomorrow before you get there. Now, the Cubs, let's check their schedule to make sure I'm right about this before I say something and then people start texting and Sparky, you're wrong. That's not the schedule for the Cubs. The Chicago Cubs have a game today and then not tomorrow. So the most the Cubs can gain on you is a game and a half. Okay? That's the most. So worst case scenario is you are 4 up when play starts. Is that right? No, 4 up going into Friday. That's worst case scenario. And then you both will then have 3 games left at that point before you get to that series that starts on Monday. Then you have to get through the weekend. The Cubs, they get the Reds, okay? At Wrigley, 4-3. And look, daytime baseball. Day game on Friday, day game on Saturday. And then they get a national game on NBC on Sunday night against the Reds. And then it's, like I said, 4 against the Brewers. They get the Marlins in between the 2 Brewers series. They have to play at Wrigley. Then they have to get on a plane, go to Miami, and then come back and play in Milwaukee without a day off in between.
That sucks.
That's a little bit advantage Brewers, I would say, right? I mean, I think we would both agree that's advantage Brewers.
I think so. Yeah.
Huh?
I would think so.
Yeah,
for sure.
For sure. Now, the Brewers schedule, the way it plays out, as we currently put it, the Rangers at American Family Field, Friday through Sunday, then to the Cubs, then to the Reds. That's a shorter flight than flying to Miami, by the way, and a lot less socially to do at night as well. So at Cincinnati, then they come home for the Cubs and the Reds after that. So
11 a.m. start against Cincinnati.
Yes,
that's fun. I love those games.
Craziness. So my point in all of this is, worst case scenario, you're 4 up going into this series against the Rangers. Worst case scenario, again, you're 1 up on Monday. That means you lose every game on the way out to Monday, and the Cubs don't lose a game to Monday, and you're still technically a game up when Monday comes. Best case scenario, you could be 7, 8 games up, and the Cubs go on a little bit of a skid, and you get hot here at the right time.
Which is very likely, very possible, because that's the way the Cubs have played all season.
But probably not likely that they're only 1 up on Monday.
No, probably not.
Probably not likely that they're 1 up on Monday. So just everybody just chill out a little bit. What are we worried about? I don't understand. Jeff on the Dugout YouTube chat says, Pat Murphy concerns me with his decisions. Hamilton is not an everyday player. I agree with you on that. Perhaps Pratt misjudged the pop-out to right field, and he realized he made a mistake. I am more concerned about making contact. Well, that's all this team is based on, is making contact. So I think that is fair, obviously. That if he asks you to bunt, you don't watch a ball go down the middle of the plate and don't get the bunt down. You don't even offer at the bunt at that point. That was another concern last night from Pat Murphy. John in Franklin, you're next on Wisconsin Sports Daily. What's up, John?
Well, what's up, Sparky? You know, am I losing sleep about the Cubs? No, I'm not losing sleep, but I do watch their score. I'm well aware of them, but I think the problem is bigger than that. I think the fact I all along, and you could check the tape, I didn't give a crap. If we got Skubal, that was fine. If we didn't, I kind of preferred it. But I said, we need to get a bat. We need to get a bat. We play bad teams all the time, and there's always a good hitter on them. And I know where are you going to put them? Where are you going to put them? But the fact of the matter is, The pitching on this team is insane how good it is. What is going to be our downfall is the fact that this team a lot of the time can't hit. And when we scored that 24 runs or whatever it was, I'm just rolling my eyes because I'm like, this is just going to throw cover. This is going to, everybody's numbers look good because this has happened at other times during the year where we had these big offensive. It's like everybody gets in on it. Well, where the hell there's nobody out and 2 runners on base and we can't get another runner home to win the damn ball game? This is going to be our downfall. I can see it. I'm sorry.
John, they're not the only team in baseball that messes up in those situations. They're 5th in baseball with batting average with runners in scoring position, or 6th.
God,
6th.
Don't do this.
But John,
Don't do this.
Why don't you want to talk about the facts? But John, that's a fact. They're hitting like 261
Sparky,
with runners in scoring position.
Stop. Sparky, stop.
What?
Stop yourself. We've been watching this team how many times since after the All-Star break?
Fair enough.
It is agonizing watching this team.
Fair enough. John, how many times have you watched the Dodgers since the All-Star break?
I haven't.
You haven't.
Except
How many
when we were
times?
playing them.
Right. How many times have you watched the Braves since the All-Star break, or the Phillies?
Okay, but the problem, Sparky, is we're built about getting hits and being efficient.
I understand.
And if we can't do that, we don't have the batters to strike lightning like they did on us yesterday,
John,
and beat us with the home run.
I completely understand. Thanks for the call. Listen, I'm not telling you that they're not struggling. They are struggling with runners in scoring position. All I'm saying is, I promise you, if you go around baseball, lots of teams are probably going through the same type of stuff that they're going through. I'm also telling you that it's highly unrealistic to think you're going to hit 500 with runners in scoring position on a night in, night out basis in Major League Baseball throughout an entire year and be like, 12 on, we're going to get 6 in every time. That's not going to happen. Like Jack Stern was on earlier. I mean, 7 failures out of 10 at-bats is considered good. That's a 300 batting average, failing 7 of 10 times. So essentially, that would be like being 3 for 10 with runners in scoring position. That would be hitting 300 on the season. Now, when you get those runners hit in from scoring position, and at what point of the game you get those hits to accommodate those runs to score across the plate, the timing thing obviously is a big deal because you want that to, if it's a close game, that one there in the 9th inning, we got to have it. We got a guy on, nobody out, or 2 guys on, nobody out, and we can't get anybody in. And you had guys on 2nd and 3rd who couldn't push across a damn run. A sac fly would have done it. A ground ball, in more cases than not, could have done it. You had all kinds of opportunities. You couldn't do it. So then what happens? Runners in scoring position. We're awful. Fine. But you could also get yourself into a series against the Cubs or the Dodgers in the postseason, and all of a sudden it's clicking and you're getting your hits and you catch fire a little bit for a couple of series with runners in scoring position, and next thing you know, you're sitting in the World Series. Or it could be the exact opposite, where you're playing well against the Cubs and you go cold. He turns off the water faucet against the Dodgers because they're really good pitchers, and then all of a sudden you don't score, and then we're yelling they don't have enough power, which we all knew. Matt Arnold knew that too. We're all well aware that they don't have enough power. And like I said, power's coming, but it's just not going to be this year. Is that Glendale? Is that what that says?
Yes. Yeah.
Adam in Glendale, you're next on Wisconsin Sports Daily. What's going on, Adam?
Hey, good afternoon, gentlemen. I'll chime in here. I'm going to springboard off what the last caller said. I do agree with the concerns. I share the concerns with the hitting at critical times, runners in scoring position. Yes, I can't refute that we're 5th best in the majors, but it's doing it at the right time, as you're alluding to, Sparky.
Yep.
We saw the Dodgers NLCS last year. To be fair, the Brewers were absolute gas.
Yep.
We were very undisciplined at the plate. We're flailing at pitches we normally don't flail at, and we looked silly, and that's my concern. I think you guys covered this maybe a week or so ago on the afternoon show. Somebody at the time made the point that, there's concerns about at one time having guys like Lara, Ortiz, Pratt in the bottom of that lineup.
Right, slap hitters all stacked together.
Yes,
right. Yep.
Yes.
Correct.
I share that concern. I love Pratt. I love Lara. They're future superstars, but the bottom line is October facing. These guys don't have the experience, and I think those world-class pitchers, they're going to turn it up a notch when we get to October, and I think guys like Lara, Pratt are liabilities in that lineup, and they're prone to chase. So the key to our success is a disciplined approach at the plate. Whether you're hitting bombs or not, if we're disciplined, we're going to beat teams. I will end it there.
I think that's a fair assessment on the rookies. Thanks for the call. I think, not speaking for Tim Allen, but having listened to Tim Allen quite a bit here the last couple of weeks doing shows with him, and I'll be back on tonight with him after this game tonight, 8:30 to 10 with the post-game show. I'll do leadoff show today from 5 to 6, that he also gets concerned about these guys potentially getting overmatched in situations late in games against, high-end relievers at the back end of games and just looking like they have no idea what's going on at that point and getting overpowered. I think that is a legitimate concern. Can I counter with something else, though? So while we get concerned about the rookies getting overpowered, does that then make it a bad idea to potentially go and get one of your power hitters from AAA before September 1st to ensure that he's on the playoff roster, to essentially be that big bat, that home run bat, that power bat that potentially could be a designated hitter for Yelich, or could be that pinch hitter off of the bench, like a Luke Adams, like a Blake Burke. Burke is struggling, I understand that. But one of those two guys, that both those guys can hit 20 to 30 home runs in a given season, to have that power bat off of your bench come the postseason, or potentially spot start from here and again, because it is a rookie. So the concern you have of potentially being overmatched like you do for Lara or Pratt or some of these other guys would still be the same concern, but it would give you somebody that has the potential to change the game with a swing in a critical moment, even though that player would be a rookie, Charlie.
Yeah, and I think with these two rookies specifically on this Brewers team, as much as I think you do want to have the most disciplined guys out there, these are also two of the guys that I think can have the biggest impact on this team. And I talked about this with Brandon. I talked about this with Tim. In the playoffs, you want these guys to be able to come in and have a breakout moment, because a lot of the teams that have won World Series in the past few years, a lot of the teams that have had big moments come from guys, have had it come from struggling veterans that all of a sudden came into this team at the trade deadline or as free agents and are blowing up. Jorge Soler and Jock Peterson, or young players like for the Texas Rangers when Evan Carter and Wyatt Langford came in, were huge in that World Series run.
Great example.
Led them past the Arizona Diamondbacks to even the Dodgers. These past couple of years, they've had young players come in and be an extremely important part of their World Series run beyond the stars that they have. And I think right now, in moments like this, Pat Murphy has to allow some of these guys to work through bad decisions and work through bad moments, so that when you do get to that point in the playoffs, in the World Series, where you do have to play these guys, as much as you want to take them out and put in better disciplined players, there aren't that on the Brewers right now. These guys are the same as a lot of the other players that are playing at the moment. Yes, they're rookies, but they're going to have to play critical roles, and you have to get them ready to play in those critical roles.
What do you think the likelihood is that when we get to the postseason, Joey Ortiz is at shortstop, David Hamilton's at third, and Felix in right, and Lara and Pratt are sitting on the bench watching every game?
Probably pretty likely.
Better not be.
Pratt better happen, but I want these guys out there. That's my biggest problem with all of this.
Pratt better be playing every day at shortstop. KJ in West Allis, you're next on Wisconsin Sports Daily. What's up, KJ?
Good afternoon, Sparks. Thanks for taking my call.
You bet.
Listen, I agree with a lot that the callers have said. I agree with also what you have said. But my whole thing has been all this time the lack of discipline, as people have mentioned, the execution of fundamentals within the game, and putting bat to ball. I mean, that's huge. I mean, you can't get up there and swing and flail at pitches like Cheerio did in that at bat, 3 pitches in a row. That last pitch was around his neck, and he couldn't hit that with a telephone pole. So I mean, you got to have more discipline than that. I didn't agree with Murphy taking out Pratt in that situation. That's what you got coaches for. You talk to your coaches to go over and talk to Pratt, explain why, he should have done things differently. And if you want to, you fine them after the game. You don't take them out in the middle of the game. I didn't think that set a good precedent for the team going forward. I really didn't. And the runners in scoring position, I think that, I'm not sure
that is a real stat at this point. The Brewers being 6. That does winning 22-0 fall into that category of maybe bringing them up to that 6th spot in runners in scoring position? Sparky, you think?
I don't know. I think when you start talking about a lineup and building a lineup one way or the other, and how this works and who benefits who, I think you have to start asking yourself who benefits from having protection in the lineup and who doesn't need protection in the lineup and is a good enough hitter that if you had David Hamilton behind him or somebody else, they're still going to figure out a way to get on base versus other guys that, look, I need a Contreras or somebody behind them so they see pitches in order to benefit them the most. And you start talking about Yelich and where he's at, and he had a double the other day. He's been coming out of it a little bit, it looks like, here the last few games. A Yelich, does he need protection in order to break out of his slump? William Contreras, same question applies there. Does Churio, does he really need protection? Is he okay at the top of the lineup? You have Sal Frelick coming back. We've talked about that. Does it benefit him and Lara to be at the top of the lineup with Terang and Churio behind him versus at the bottom of the lineup with potentially, Cooper Pratt and David Hamilton behind him, or Cooper Pratt and Joey Ortiz? It's going to come all down to who do you trust where in the lineup? I mean, we could talk all day about what are his numbers against this guy in this situation and lefty-righty matchups and all of that. But I really do think it's about putting the guy in a perfect situation. And I always bring it back to, my J.J. Hardy thing where he's batting 2 and having the time of his life. They move him to 8 and he's complaining in the media that he gets nothing to hit. He's screwed down there at the bottom and so forth. And it completely screwed him up mentally. I think for every player, it's different as far as where they feel the most comfortable and what's most beneficial to them and then the players around him, KJ.
Yeah, I agree as well. I have a problem with David Hamilton being in the lineup at this point. I mean, his benefit to the Brewers is his speed. He bunts, he can do those kind of things, but he's shown that he's not reliable. I don't trust him in the field at third base. I really don't. And in a situation maybe going into the playoffs, are you going to start him at third base? Really?
Potentially. I mean, again, what are the options at this point? Thanks for the call, KJ. I mean, that's just it. That's reality of the situation. You have what you have. Like Hamilton and Ortiz are going to play third base if Cooper Pratt's at short. The question I have now is Cooper Pratt injury, right? Or is Cooper Pratt even going to be at short? He makes one more, 2 of these decisions where Murphy's like, "Tell with you, out you come" in the middle of a game and takes you off a bag. He's not going to start in the postseason if this continues.
You can't do that as you start getting late into the season here. Like this has again, I think this is too late to be doing all this, Pat Murphy. You can't be teaching lessons when this team is as healthy as it is right now, especially your offensive lineup, when you should start getting these guys ready for playoff baseball.
We have to take a quick timeout. I'm going to ask you on the other side of this. Do you think Murphy would ever do this in a playoff game? We'll talk about that coming up next. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. And, buddy, how about my friends over there at Wendy's? The return of the fan favorite everyone's been asking for, the pretzel bacon pub cheeseburgers back at Wendy's. Fresh, never frozen beef, creamy beer cheese, Munster cheese, applewood smoked bacon, and crispy onions, all on a pretzel bun. Add a side of delicious bacon pub fries to create a combo so good you'll feel like you're at an actual pub after just one bite. Limited time only. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. If you want to join the discussion, dial it up. Nicolay Law Talking text line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250. It is Wisconsin Sports Daily. See Sparky Fifer. Charlie Hughes on the other side of the glass. Charlie Sounds of the Day comes up here in a few minutes. It may get moved. We may move it to 420. Yeah, probably going to move it to 420. So, Charlie, I want to get into some of this Big Ten and SEC stuff, but I don't want to stop the Brewers conversation. So we may move that to things Sparky missed. All right? Things Sparky missed at the end after Charlie Sounds of the Day. This thing is picking up. I'm going to let you do the talk and text line.
Oh, like right now?
I physically can't do it on this side.
Oh.
So you can look through. That's why I'm being ignoring text, because I can't get to it myself.
All right.
We're not going to get into why I can't get to it. It's my fault. It's nobody else's fault but my own.
I know why he can't get to it.
I'm not blaming anybody.
I know exactly.
Right. So we're not going to get into that, but I can't get to
Maybe
it. So shut up. Just go over there. You caught up. Shut up. Harley from the VA, you're next on Wisconsin Sports Daily with me, Steve Sparky Pfeiffer, talking about the Brewers and people freaking out about where we are in the standings and what's going to happen going forward. What's up, Harley?
Everybody's freaking out, Sparky.
Yes.
You know, what Murphy did last night, that to me was a mistake, but that's my opinion. He should have handled it inside the locker room. KJ calls in. He doesn't like Hamilton. What are you going to do?
You
mentioned, bringing up somebody. We are all sitting on the edge of our seats at the end of July because we were going to get a starting pitcher and someone that hit the ball out of the park. Guess what? It didn't happen.
It doesn't appear they ever pursued a bat. I mean, at that point, I mean, there was talk that in the offseason they checked in on CJ Abrams. I saw another report that they may check in on CJ Abrams again this offseason. But as far as at the deadline, I didn't see them checking in on anybody concerning a bat.
Well, now, you also mentioned, bringing up someone from the minors. Good idea back August 1st, back at the end of July. Now's not the time to do it. They waited a month to bring Pratt up. I mean, this team just is so frustrating sometimes.
Yep.
When it comes to personnel moves.
Yeah.
It took them forever to get Lara up here. It's just, it's baffling. And when it comes to, the Cubs and a 4-game lead, I'm not comfortable until, the end of September. I mean, Milwaukee could go in there, lose 3 out of 4. This thing could come down to a 1-game swing either way, whoever wins the division. I'm not going to hand it over saying, if we go in there, if this, if that. I don't know what Murphy's going to do tonight. He might walk out and pull me in the first inning.
Hold on a second. Is the lineup has to be up? We have leadoff show at 5:00. The lineup is up, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I want to know. I want to know if Pratt's in the lineup. Is he going to punish him yet again and pull him?
Cooper Pratt is in the lineup. Yes.
Cooper Pratt's in the lineup. Yeah. Okay, good.
Get over it, Murph. Get over it.
I'm with you, Harley. Thanks for the call. Okay, so Cooper Pratt is in the lineup. He
is in the lineup. And then me and Mitch Thunder Nellis earlier were talking about, if you're going to do that with Cooper Pratt, do you do the same thing with David Hamilton, even though he's a little bit more of a veteran player? He made a mistake last night. It was a physical mistake. David Hamilton is starting at third base tonight.
So can we talk about David Hamilton for a second? Mm-hmm. I'm not mad at David Hamilton. I know y'all are.
No, he was just the guy that happened to be in that circumstance with the spotlight on him. Yeah.
This is the thing that I think most coaches would tell you for baseball goes, physical errors are going to happen. Like, it's going to happen. The ones that coaches hate are mental errors. That's why he got mad at Cooper Pratt, because he didn't run fast enough, quick enough for him. He looked at a ball down the middle when he should have dropped that down for a bunt. So in Murphy's mind, his head wasn't in the game. That can be controlled by focus and being in it mentally. He's not going to punish you per se for making a bad throw or whatever in that moment in time, because physical errors happen in the game of baseball. They just do. Like, that's one thing. Now, having said that, if Cooper Pratt's out there playing and he has an error 4 or 5 straight games in a row, okay, then yes, Murphy may be like, okay, well, that's enough. We've seen enough. You are all messed up. We're going to pull you out for a day or two to rest here. But for the most part, with physical type stuff, normally there's not punishment for that. It's the mental stuff that gets you in the doghouse usually with Murphy.
Mitch said the same thing, but I also kind of pointed out that later in the season, a mistake is a mistake. Like, again, it's the same thing with like wanting your lineup to be set out there and making sure that those guys that you have on the field right now, especially when your offense is as healthy as it is, you got everybody that's supposed to be out there.
Yeah.
So now you want to start running those number 1, number 2 type of lineups. Like right now, I guess David Hamilton has 9 errors on the season between shortstop and third base.
Do you want to know a secret?
Sure.
Pat Murphy knows David Hamilton should not be starting. But Pat Murphy also knows he doesn't have a better option necessarily.
Well, Joey Ortiz, isn't he?
He knows.
Like, isn't that just the better option easily now?
Because
he's one of the best hitters in baseball.
No. Because you know damn right well, Pat Murphy went back to the in certain pitch mix guys. Then he feels comfortable playing Joey Ortiz. And if it's not certain guys on the mound, he doesn't feel as comfortable playing Joey Ortiz. So that's why he plays David Hamilton. I promise you, if Pat Murphy was at a bar with a drink in his hand and there was no cameras, no media, no nothing, and you were talking, he'd be like, David Hamilton is a bench guy on a really good team. He's not a starter in Major League Baseball. He'd tell you that. There's no question he'd tell you that. Everybody in Major League Baseball would tell you he's not a starter. So that's not a secret. He's playing him because he's got to play him because he doesn't trust Joey Ortiz in other situations against different pitchers, apparently. All right, let's go to Ram, north side of Milwaukee. You're next on Wisconsin Sports Daily. What's up, Ram?
Hey, Sparky, glad to have you back.
Glad to be back, Ram.
Brandon and Charlie sound good in there.
Brandon was all fired up, man. He got done yesterday.
I'm surprised they didn't lock you out, but we talk about that. I'm only saying I'm telling on myself, Sparky, just in case it be a backroom, lunchroom conversation. But
what did you say, Ram? Did you say Brandon should have my show? Is that what you said? What did you say?
Lock you out.
I said Brandon and Charlie should lock you out for a week, and we're gonna have them do the Brandon and Charlie sports talk or something like that.
Hey, Ram,
Ram will have all the bumper music.
Ram, I got you. That's not with the bumper music stuff. So stop. So Friday, it's this Friday, right? Yeah.
Yes.
This Friday, you're not. Everybody can nominate what songs, what groups. I'm telling you right now, I'm nominating Dolly Parton. But you can nominate songs, groups, whatever you want. But it's got to be from the 80s and before.
I got my list ready.
That's the only caveat. So on Friday,
I have my list ready. I pulled it down already.
All right. On Friday, you send the list in. We'll put them together, and then we'll debut them at some point next week as well. And for you wanting Brandon and Charlie together, I'm going to be gone from like the 8th to the 15th of September. Full week. Full week. So we might be able to make something like that work.
Okay. Yeah, they sound good. I'm just saying professional. They sound good on the radio.
Good. Yeah, Brandon was all fired up.
They got good IQ. And I'm not just blowing smoke. I'm just telling you straight up. I've listened to them for a long time. And you got some good people there, Sparky.
Thank you.
My question is this: on the Brewers team, going into we talk about the dog days of August, do they have 5 or 6 clutch players that can make something happen in the postseason? Because that's what we're talking about right now. Because this VP runners on base, that's been going on for the last couple of seasons.
Yep.
We've seen this. The David Hamilton and Ortiz, we've been talking about that for at least 3 or 4 months.
Yep.
But we talking about going into, and I'm gonna take my on this off here. Do we have 6 clutch players, including pitchers and a bat, that we can get into the championship round of the National League? I ain't gonna say we got to get to the World Series. Can we get runners across the bag? That's all I want to know. Because if we didn't get a bat, obviously there's someone that they can bring up, to someone on the bench that can probably make that happen. But we have yet not seen that. You know, so that's what I want to know.
All right. Thanks for the call. Guys. Now, I'm going to say this because I was just having this conversation earlier with somebody else. If they get the Cubs in the playoffs, that concerns me. Not from we're not as talented as them. I'm concerned from they're going to come in wanting blood after what the Brewers did last year in the postseason, how they celebrated. And they're going to be playing at one level, and the Brewers are going to have to try and match them emotionally. I don't know if that'll happen. So that series greatly concerns me. The Dodgers series, obviously, you got a Hall of Fame starting 4 you're going to have to deal with in the postseason for the Dodgers. So I don't care who the hitters are. It could be the Brewers hitters, the Cubs hitters, the Phillies hitters, whoever. If they're healthy, that front 4 is healthy for the Dodgers, they're going to be very difficult to score runs on and beat. I don't care if you hit home runs or you're a contact team. That's going to be difficult. Do I think the Brewers will be in the NLCS? Yeah, I think the expectation is yes, you're in the NLCS. And if you're in the NLCS against the Dodgers, do I expect a different outcome? No, I don't. I think it probably is going to go pretty much the exact same way because I don't think much has necessarily changed between these two teams as far as talent levels of both and where they're both at. The makeup and how they go about their business is the same for the Brewers. Now, if you talk to Tim Allen about it, Tim Allen will tell you there's no way they pitch that well again, and there's no way the Brewers hit that bat again. Could be. And if he is right, then it'll be a competitive series, because we know last year's wasn't a competitive series. So, we'll see what all happens here at the end of the day. Anybody can get hot at any given moment in time. We've seen the Cardinals with La Russa and Matheny not be the best team in baseball for the entire season, get hot the last week or two of September, and ride it to a World Series. That's what you're waiting for the Brewers to do offensively, is get hot at the right time. Get hot like they did last year when they won 13, 14 in a row. Get that type of hot right there in October, and they can beat anybody. They get that hot again, right? It's timing at the end of the day. Charlie Hughes and C. Sparky, Pfeiffer, it's Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky with you. It is Wisconsin Sports Daily. Steve Sparky Fifer with you. Charlie using other side of the glass. Thanks for hanging out today. We've done a horrible job, me specifically, at checking the Nicolay Law talk and text line, Charlie. What do we got over there on the Nicolay Law talk and text line?
So if we head over here, Yankee John says,
Oh, he's a good one.
So I was not in favor of Pratt being pulled mid-game. If Ortiz was at third, he makes a good throw to home. However, think back to the game before. Pratt had a half swing to the pitcher and was dogging it to first until the pitcher booted the play.
It's true.
Then Pratt sped up and was barely safe. A lesson needed to be taught, but not in the manner Murphy did it. Murphy is a good manager, but gets an error last night. Besides, you have watched other Brewers players dogging it to first.
I watched our youth coach pull one of our kids on our 10U team after he had like 2 or 3 errors in the inning or whatever defensively, pulled him in the middle of the inning when he made a pitching change and put him on the bench at that point. Okay. The dad of the child, if you're listening, hi, was livid. Like, it's 10U baseball. What are we doing? Why are we showing them up for? And so forth. Now, that's 10U in a game that there's maybe 40 people at parents-wise.
Yeah.
Maybe. Okay? So now we're doing it at the major league level. And by the sounds of it, the fans view it the same exact way, which is, that's unacceptable. We should be pulling guys in the middle of innings or whatever else because you're showing the player up. The fact that Cooper Pratt heard it from other players, that is the more telling thing than anything else. Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky with you. Coming up next, we're going to get to our green and gold update. We'll hear from Brian Gutekunst straight ahead. Charlie Sounds today, things Sparky missed, all coming up here on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network.
Some shows talk about one team. Other shows barely talk sports. This show will talk Packers, Brewers, and Bucks. Every day. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily with Steve Sparky Pfeiffer on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network.
Welcome in. It is Wisconsin Sports Daily. Steve Sparky Pfeiffer with you. We are live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here, Charlie using other side of the glass. It is 4 p.m. Do you know where your kids are at? Remember that, 10 o'clock, after the 10 o'clock news. Right before the 10 o'clock news, I think it was, locally. I don't know if it was around the state, so I don't know if y'all had it in Wausau, Green Bay, or Appleton, or in Duluth, or Superior, or Madison. But in Milwaukee, when I was growing up, and I grew up in Kenosha, right on the border, right before like the Milwaukee news would come on when I was growing up, it's 10 o'clock. Do you know where your kids are?
Before TVs were a thing?
No, this was, well, it was black and white, but it's 10 o'clock. Do you know where your kids are? Every night, right before like the 10 o'clock news or whatever, that thing would come on. It always made me laugh because I was like, 8 years old. Where am I? Where do you think I'm going to be? I'm at home, man. Why do you think I'm going to be anywhere else? But it was more for like the high school kids and middle school kids that were out running rampant. Because back then it was
rampant.
Back then it was far more of a thing
to run rampant.
Well, yeah, where kids would just be gone. He wouldn't know where they were, and then they come home. But you're not worried about somebody abducting them or taking them or whatever the craziness that happens today.
There's too many true crime documentaries nowadays.
Yeah,
people be worried.
Crazy. So anyways, yeah, so that was a joke about that. Hey, Wisconsin Sports Radio Network, proudly outfitted by Burghardt Sporting Goods, our official apparel partner. Outfit your team or company with custom apparel today at BSG1881.com, BSG1881.com. And they announced today in one of our meetings that they're opening up the store again.
And they made Sparky a model.
So he
did such a great job. Runway.
It's not supposed to happen. Nobody said that was going to happen. Our boss was stalling trying to get a Zoom thing to work. So he put the spotlight. Hey, look at Sparky wearing the new gear.
He did great.
Feel like, twirl, Sparky. Let's see everything. Oh, my goodness gracious. But yeah, love my Wisconsin Sports Radio Network here. So thanks to Burkhardt's for all that. 4 o'clock. Let's roll.
It's time for your green and gold update on Wisconsin Sports Daily, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network with Steve Sparky Pfeiffer.
All right, 4 o'clock. We got to talk Packers. We started off the show talking about the scrimmage between the Packers and the Arizona Cardinals today, inter-squad scrimmage. And that also means that during this preseason game coming up Friday night, you will not see starters, obviously, because they were playing today in this. All three
unless
units
they threw a punch.
Right. I mean, all three units, but I don't believe I may throw a punch, though. All three units were playing first, second, and third string, but the starters won't play in this final preseason game. And to get you a brief summary of what happened, Packers appear to still be struggling to be able to run the football. Jordan Love on fire in the first part of practice, not as much on fire in the second part of practice through a couple of interceptions. They did 2-minute drill. Golden dropped a touchdown pass from Jordan Love on fourth down. So you had that. The defense apparently stunk for a majority of the day against Jacoby Brissett and the Cardinals offense. Not good. So you got that. Trace Mack stunk kicking field goals today as well. Not surprising because he's pretty much stunk in practice all season to this point, but he's great in the stadium when it matters in these preseason games. I think that pretty much sums up what's going on. Oh, and then the left guard situation had some different players there. Donovan Jennings, who's been on the team here the last couple of years, he was running with the ones a little bit at left guard. And then Jager Burden came in behind him. So maybe Jennings took a spot. I guess we'll find out more from LaFleur tomorrow. So that development pretty much occurred. But outside of that, that was about the extent of it. And as I said in the 2 o'clock hour, please do not read into this too much. Please. Like, you're not game planning for a inter-squad scrimmage. Gannon is not game planning to stop Jacoby Brissett and the Cardinals. Jonathan Gannon is not running a bunch of stuff that he's going to run in a game against them. Running just basic stuff that, they're going to run against common opponents. And if the Cardinals beat it, they beat it. And they beat it. So it is what it is. Marvin Harrison Jr. apparently made a great catch over Cisse for a touchdown. That was another one. So that pretty much sums up what happened today at the inter-squad scrimmage between the Packers and the Arizona Cardinals. Now the game comes up on Friday night, Matt LaFleur's team against Mike LaFleur. Now, Brian Gutekunst talked earlier today. Talked about a lot of different things, of course. I want to start off with his offensive line conversation, if you would just care to be okay to listen to this. The thing that's been going on since Ted Thompson was the man running the Green Bay Packers is this Packers team always drafts guys that can play several positions in their minds. Even if they've never done it in college, if they believe athletically you can play 3 different positions or 2 different positions on the offensive line, in their mind, you take a step above the guy that can only be a right tackle, the guy that can only be a guard, the guy that can only be a center. You have a higher value to them because they like moving guys all over the place and interchanging parts and best 5 play. You know, that's how the Packers do things. And that's how they've been doing it since Ted Thompson. And we saw last year, Elton Jenkins not do well on the move from guard to center. That did not go well. We saw Jordan Morgan for the last couple of years not do well outside of the left tackle position. Now this year we'll get to see left tackle. We'll assume right now that he'll be better than the horrible version of him at guard for the upcoming season. He better be. Otherwise, Jordan Love's going to get annihilated. So we're going to assume that Morgan is going to be okay at left tackle. But both guard positions are wide open in the air right now as far as what's going on there because Aaron Banks' inability to stay healthy at this point, who they signed as a free agent before last season. So here's Goody talking about why the Packers feel like a young offensive lineman can play any position on the line. And I was talking about Sean Ryan because Sean Ryan is another guy that they've played up and down the line. And last year, because of necessity, I don't think they went into the year thinking Sean Ryan was going to be their center. But because Jenkins got hurt, they were trying to figure out, okay, who's the next guy? They wanted a physical guy. They wanted more of a nasty guy that potentially could do it. Prior to that, where was he playing? Not tackle, guard. He's been playing right guard, trying to learn how to play right guard. And then they threw him in the fire to tell him, hey, let's learn how to play center now at the NFL level and see how that goes. And then paid him in the offseason without him having started a full season at the position and said, hey,
confidence,
congratulations, you're our new center for the next 3 years. Which, again, boy, oh boy, that better be the right decision because, as Charlie will tell you, that center position is the key to the entire offensive line.
And it's been a problem when Elton Jenkins has to slide in and he's not prepared for that moment, or he's been working hard at left guard. And he was that before you moved him. Like, it just feels all so weird. And that this is a move that has to work for the Packers if they want that money to work out too.
Correct. That's exactly correct. Some of the other things that came up today. Now, I get why you have to ask this question. I do. I understand. I'm not banging on anybody. I don't even know who asked the question, but we're bringing up the Micah Parsons trade. I get it, right?
I think it was Andy.
Andy Herman.
Yes.
Whatever. It doesn't matter. I get why you bring it up. You bring it up because nationally people are like, oh, the Cowboys won this trade. Look at what the Cowboys were able to invest financially and then what they were able to do with their draft picks and so forth. Cowboys won the trade, right? The Packers gave up too much and the Cowboys are better because of it and so forth. So there's a lot of that going on. So I get why you asked the question. Here's Goody. Speaking of Micah Parsons on I think it was Bleacher Report, talking about coming back one way or the other. People talking about week 6.
The edge. Wait for Charlie's Sons of the Day. Sparky.
Oh, you do?
Mm.
I will mess with it. He talks about the timeline of when he's coming back.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Y'all can hear it then coming up here. Did not leave me inspired or confident that he's going to be back sooner rather than later. I'll tell you that much. So we'll get to that in just a little bit here. Okay, here's another one from Brian Gunnison talking about how much the final preseason week matters to roster decisions. Then I'll tell you what I think. So in baseball, we've talked about this a little bit in the past. In baseball, when you go into spring training, a majority of these rosters are fairly set. And you're really only talking about 2-3 guys potentially for good teams. But you're really kind of having maybe a little bit of a conversation in-house as far as who takes the last 1 or 2 bullpen roles maybe, or who takes the last 1 or 2 bench spots on a team. But as far as who is starting, what the majority of the roster looks like, that's all set. It doesn't matter how bad one of your regulars plays in spring training. They don't care. They know what he's done prior, and they're going to play that guy in their starting lineup in game 1 on opening day, regardless of how good or bad he does. And it doesn't matter how good said minor leaguer may play. He could hit 450 in spring training, and they're sending him down because it doesn't matter how good that person does. Fans lose their minds. Like, what are we doing? That's already predetermined. In football, I don't think it's all that much different. Obviously, with a bigger roster, there are more openings to a certain degree, but not that many more openings. I mean, you start talking about last lineman or 2 on the offense, right? Running backs, I think that's pretty much done. That's got to be a pretty much a done deal at this point. I mean, what's the guy's name? Pierre Strong or whatever. I think he's made a case for himself to be on this roster. So now you start talking about 4 running backs potentially on the roster. And he makes the roster because of what he showed on special teams, right? Being able to return kicks and so forth in that last game. So he potentially makes this team as a 4th running back. And then if Jacobs is suspended, then I would assume it's going to be Marshawn Lloyd as the starter, and then Brooks and Strong as the other 2 running backs.
You wouldn't sign anybody just for a little bit, just to see what happens, even with Josh Jacobs kind of slowing down a little bit last season, just in general.
I think you're just going to roll with what you have. I don't think they go get another running back. I could be wrong. Maybe they will.
It'd be so cheap just to try Nick Chubb out, just to see what happens. Have Josh Jacobs and Nick Chubb remaining for the season.
Potentially. I don't think they're going to, but either way. So there's just not many positions, right? Your debate, I think tight end is a position where maybe you add a guy at a tight end position, a veteran that gets cut off of another roster. I think that backup offensive line, or maybe a starting right guard, right? There's some question there on the offensive line. Defensive line, I think you're good there for the most part, unless, you have the ability to go add another guy that can rush the quarterback. And that's more like Josh Sweat type guy with the Cardinals. Unless you can get somebody that's that type of player that can get you double-digit sacks, you're probably staying pat with what you have. The linebackers, with Cooper, Edgerrin Cooper, and Zaire Franklin, and those guys, I think they're pretty much set. You've spent money on McDuffie already, so I don't think they're touchable. Safeties obviously aren't going anywhere. Maybe you look at the cornerback position. I think that is kind of a wide open race at this point. I still think Keyshawn Nixon ends up starting opposite at the end of the day of Cisse, and then Valentine potentially as that other cornerback, Bullard in the slot, and away you go. And then St. Juice obviously is the other cornerback. So I could see them keeping a majority of their corners and just rolling with what they have there. I just don't think there's a ton of movement necessarily as far as, oh yeah, we're looking for 15 new players. When you're a bad team, sure. When you're a good team, there's just not as much that's going to come out of all of this at the end of the day. It's more or less, who do we want on our practice squad? Who do we think we can squeak through waivers and then sign them back to the practice squad? I think that becomes more of the conversation, even so than, the 3, 4, 5, 6 guys, whatever it may be, that end up on the back end of this roster.
Well, and I think from what I've heard from other people, other experts throughout this off season or preseason, is that a lot of these guys on their rosters, they're just going to end up back on their own practice squads too. You don't really have to worry about other teams taking your players because they were trying out all their practice squad guys on their own rosters and they like those guys already themselves. And a lot of them, unless they really disappointed, would just end up on the practice squad.
But the question
in the
is,
first place.
if you pass a guy through waivers, if somebody views them as a player to add to their physical roster, right? That's the question. Because like he just said, hey man, we got more than 53 guys here that can play in the league. Right. So now we're trying to figure out who do we think could potentially get stolen from us to add on to their roster. That's better than, you let a wide receiver get through, like Sturdivant, my guy. He gets through him. Maybe Cleveland goes, he's better than what we got as our 6th receiver. We're going to go snatch him. Or we'll carry 7 just to get him here because we think there's a ton of upside. We're going to go snatch him and he's not going to be on the practice squad. That's the type of thing. And every year, do you know what happens? We Packer fans always are like, no way they're getting into the practice squad. Dude's so good. Somebody's going to pick him up. And every year, they all get to the practice squad, and hardly ever do the guys that we think are so good that won't get picked up actually get picked up by somebody else.
They don't.
Hardly ever.
And even if they do end up with Cleveland as the 6th wide receiver, it's not exactly a prestigious spot to be in. So you might just end up back in practice squad waiver wires, back with the Packers anyway.
Yeah, I mean, you're not cutting somebody and then they're going to go start for somebody. That's definitely not happening. Gutekunst also talked about the possibility of Josh Jacobs possibly still being suspended. I mean, he said keeping 3 or 4 running backs. And listening to him, does it feel like he knows?
Kind of. Like, I think with this Packers front office, coaching staff.
You would think by this point, the league and the Packers have talked multiple times about what's going on with the Jacobs case. You would think that they've had conversations.
Yes.
At some point.
But also at the same time,
even if
I think the league would also try to withhold as much information as possible until they feel like they're done with their investigation, which would result in his suspension. So while they may understand what point in the investigation the NFL is in, which again, I think is weird that their investigation could be any more in-depth than what the police have done and what's going on there. It's just a strange situation overall. But I think that whatever they have, that the Packers know where they are in that investigation, maybe not what they know and what they're sharing.
I'll tell you this much. If I'm the Packers, it's like, hey, I don't need to know how many games. I just need to know, can I plan on you suspending him for game 1? Because if the answer is yes, I need that out before we make cuts. Because then I can put him on the suspended list, and then I can still have Pierre Strong type deal in there at that point, right? Now I'm good. I can roll Pierre Strong. Then when Jacobs is eligible to come off a suspension, if that's the case, then you have to make your decision on what that next roster move is. What you don't want to have happen, the worst case scenario is he gets suspended in week 3 for 4 games. And your rosters are already set. Pierre Strong is somewhere else, whatever the case may be. And now, like he said, now I'm scrambling with some young pup that's over there on the practice squad, trying to get him up to speed and not get Jordan Love killed in pass protection when he's got to come in and play. That's what you don't want. If this suspension is going to happen, you want this to happen in the first 4 weeks of the season. You don't want this to happen during Bears week and Cowboys week and in the meat and potatoes of your schedule. That would be horrible.
You want some breaking NFL news, Sparky, right now in the Green and Gold update?
Sure.
The first of its breed has died. Breaking the NFL Pro Bowl is being eliminated. On Wednesday, league executives presented to team owners the future of the Pro Bowl, which will no longer have a standalone game, be it tackle or flag football or games. 88 players will receive the Pro Bowl honor with no alternates, corralling a key aspect of the All-Star event that had gotten out of whack in recent years. So they're still going to give out Pro Bowl honors, but there's going to be no event.
It's in contract, so you have to. That's fine. That's good enough. Fine.
You're fine with that?
Absolutely. Great. No problem.
The NBA All-Star Game is going to be dead in the next 3 years.
That should be the next
Guarantee
one.
it.
They should do that.
Now that the NFL did it, NBA loves doing what the NFL does. They just copy.
And instead of having the All-Star event, just simply have a week off and be done with it.
Or just make like part of the play-in tournament, or not the play-in tournament, the midseason tournament. Just have that like be All-Star game, or have like a little All-Star event there or something like that.
Or you just have an NBA Legends game.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be fun too.
An NBA Legends game, winning team gets $3 million to split amongst you. Because a lot of those guys are probably going to be broke anyhow.
Well, you do so with the midseason tournament, the NBA Cup, the championship teams that are playing in that have two of their legend teams play against each other and then give that money to share. That'd be fun. So like if it's like the Hawks and Celtics,
how big of a Legends team?
Hawks and Lakers, and then you have the Lakers and Hawks Legends teams play each other.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't want 60-year-old Michael Jordan running around out there trying to play basketball. No. But I mean, guys have been were retired in the last 5 to 10 years.
Okay, yeah, you can still do that.
You can't in baseball. You can fake it, right? You can have a pot belly and still be able to hit a baseball and get to first base. You can't.
I bet Michael Jordan would argue with you that he could hoop on a bunch of guys.
Kendrick Perkins cannot go out there and play a full game.
Kendrick, why not?
There's no chance.
Yeah, I think he can.
No chance.
Kendrick Perkins is an athlete.
Was. No chance.
I don't even know if was. A lot of people would say otherwise.
Whatever. I mean, he was a good player back in the day. He wasn't great, but he was a good player. So, I mean, maybe you go that way. I don't know. All right, coming up next, Charlie's Sounds of the Day. You're going to want to definitely hear that coming up. Hey, are you looking for a college where you can excel in the classroom and on the field? At Bryan Strand College's Wauwatosa campus, you can compete in the NJCAA Division II athletics with more than 20 men's and women's teams to choose from. Keep playing the sport you love while earning your associate degree in business, healthcare, criminal justice, or digital marketing. Athletic scholarships are available for those who qualify. Parents, kids that are freshmen, sophomore, juniors, maybe even seniors that don't have anything locked up, I'm telling you, it's worth your time. It's worth your effort to reach out to these folks over there at Bryan Stratton. Send an email, make a call, send a highlight video, start having the conversations, especially if you're younger, about what this looks like going forward. Because I understand all parents have these dreams of playing high Division I sports for all their kids coming up. And then when you get to that point and you don't have those offers, then you're scrambling of like, oh, little Johnny wants to go play baseball anywhere, whatever the case may be, Division III, whatever else, or little Johnny thinks he's good enough for D1, but it's just not good enough for my son. I need something better than that. Okay, well, I'm telling you right now, you go here, you play. Their baseball program, all their programs are good, right? Softball, whatever, basketball programs, all really good. And they have athletic scholarships available for those who qualify. You play really good for a couple of years here at Bryan Stratton, you have potential then to move on to that high Division I program that you're talking about and play your last 2 years at Division I. Visit bryanstratton.edu and discover how Bryan Stratton College is built different for you. Welcome back, Wisconsin Sports Daily. Steve Sparky Fifer, Charlie Using with you coming up 5 o'clock, leadoff show. I'll be hosting that, getting you ready for Game 2 between the Brewers and the Mets. And then after the last pitch, you make the switch to the Potawatomi Sportsbook postgame show with the franchise Tim Allen. I'll be filling in tonight, too. Evan Heffelfinger will be back tomorrow with Tim Allen. So don't worry. It's not a permanent long-term thing with me and Tim. And some of his regulars.
Some people got comfortable again, and now you're scaring them, Sparky.
Some regulars would love me gone for good. But unfortunately, I'm going to be popping into that show every once in a while for the rest of the year. So I apologize ahead of time. Hey, this year at Wendy's, they're calling fall early with the new Apple Crumble Frosty Fusion. Because why wait for the calendar when you can start your favorite season today? Creamy vanilla frosty blended with spiced apple syrup and crunchy oat crumble. It's everything fall lovers crave in one cold, creamy spoonful, available for a limited time at Wendy's. So it is normally done at 3:40 today. It will not be today. It will be done at 4:31.
What sound clips will Chicago Charlie pick today for Sparky? Will Sparky become enraged? Will laughter ensue? It's time for Charlie's Sound of the Day. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network.
All right, Charlie, where are we going?
First up, you teased it. Let's head on over to the Edge with Micah Parsons and Quincy Avery, where Micah was giving an update on his rehab.
How is your rehab going? We getting ready to come back? What we doing?
I'm not going to lie. The rehab is going really good. We're getting stronger. We moving a little bit now. We running. We starting to change the direction. It's coming along, bro.
All I've heard is week six. Is that still the target?
I think the people really want week 6. I just want to come back when I'm feeling like myself again.
You ain't gonna put a timetable on it. When you ready, you hopping on it.
Yeah. I said week 6 be optimistic. Window opens the first week of October, and then 2-3 weeks of practice. But the reality is you got to feel like yourself. You got to be moving again. I don't want to go out there and embarrass myself. That's a real feeling.
When you go out there, you're gonna be Micah.
Packer Nation. Just know when I come back, it's gonna be up.
That doesn't sound like he's back for the Cowboys game. That sounds like he's not going to play in the Cowboys game or the Bears game, and he's going to miss the toughest part of the schedule for the Packers and will come back potentially in November. His brother, I believe, on social media has been saying November for about a month now.
His brother's been saying a lot on social media.
Well, I don't know about all of that, but that's the one thing I consistently see people retweet, him talking about November. So we'll see if that's what it ends up being. It is a very difficult part of the schedule to try and navigate if you don't have Micah Parsons. It just is. And if you're not healthy, because this team is never healthy, if this team isn't healthy by that stretch, it's going to be even a harder part of that schedule to navigate. So by the time Micah Parsons comes back, who knows what this record will look like at that point. Offensively, you feel good. Providing the offensive line can protect Jordan Love and run block for Josh Jacobs, you feel like it's all good. But the offense literally hinges on the starting 5 offensive linemen. So we'll see there. On the defensive side of the ball, you're good with the safeties. You're good with the linebackers. I think you're relatively okay with the middle of the defensive line. I think you're pretty good there with Jonathan Hargrave added, and then you have some of the other guys back. So I think you're good there too. The question is, how are they going to get pressure on the quarterback? And if you have to use corners to blitz or safeties to blitz, can you withstand giving up big plays and still winning football games? Because you're going to give up big plays if you start blitzing guys like they potentially have shown in different practices. Can they overcome that? We'll have to wait and see. All right, what else you got?
Next up, we're going to head on over to foul territory where Eric Kratz and Tom Verducci were discussing the MLB restructuring the playoff bracket in order to their plan to have the MLB restructure the playoff bracket to hopefully keep division rivals from playing each other early on.
Should Major League Baseball look into divisions playing each other right out of the gate in the playoffs, in the sense that AJ talked about it yesterday. The White Sox are going to essentially have a cakewalk to the American League Championship Series, because the Yankees, the Rays, the White Sox, the Red Sox are all going to play each other, knock each other out, and the bad teams are all going to play the White Sox. Should the divisions not be allowed to play each other in the first round? Obviously, it's tough when 3 could come from the American League East.
That's a great idea. I don't know if it's feasible to do. I guess it is feasible to do, or what it would entail, but I don't have a problem like when the Yankees and Red Sox match up in a wild card. Might do it again. I don't know, but I don't have a problem with that just because they're in the same division. But you make a good point about kind of staggering or seeding, if you will, these teams based on records, so that you can win a division, say like the White Sox, and get an easier draw. It doesn't, on the face of it, seem right. So I think it's a good idea that's worth exploring. I'm not sure what the argument would be against it, but I kind of like where you're thinking there.
Can you explain it to me like I'm, I don't know, 5? Because I'm so confused. I don't want to play my division in the divisional round. Is that what he's saying?
Yes.
Okay, but you have to go through the wild card round first.
Or the wild card round. I think that's
so.
Excuse me. That's
right. So he's saying if you win the division, you shouldn't have to play, or you shouldn't be allowed to play your own team in the wild card.
Yep.
The wild card is a best of 3, right?
Yep.
Who cares? I don't care. I mean, I literally do not care about whether it's a best of 3. It's not a best of 7 one way or the other. In fact, you could argue that the team that's got the worst record has a better chance of winning that series in a best of 3 than they do in a best of 7. You literally need 2 pitchers potentially to pitch well in 3 games. You don't need 4 guys to pitch well. Like, I think you could argue it would be easier to beat the Dodgers in a best of 3 than it is to beat the Dodgers in a best of 7 at this point. More random crap can happen in a shorter time frame to overcome it. You can get 2 starting pitchers that are just unconscious for 2 games and you move on. Best of 7, have them 4 times. A little bit more impossible to see that if you're a bad baseball team happening 4 times. So I don't think I really care about this, but B, if anything, you could argue that the worst team actually has a better chance against the better team in those situations.
Right. Wouldn't you think that, like, I guess from his perspective, I kind of understand, like, you want those better series later on more so. His whole thing is that, White Sox have an easy path. That's not really fair in my mind. Like, yeah, they still won the division. That's what works out here. These other teams, sorry, you're all in the toughest division. But if there's 3 wildcard teams from the AL East, which is potential, the Orioles still are fighting a little bit, I guess, to some degree here. What do you do then? Because then they have to play one of those teams,
Correct.
Especially if the Yankees or the Rays, whoever ends up winning that division, isn't the number 1 seed. You have to play in that first. Like, what are you going to do? You can't avoid that. It's so dumb. What do you think?
The only other thing you could do is cap how many teams can make it from a division. Where if you make a rule and say only 2 teams from a division can make it, it's the next best record after that. So only 2 from the AL East can make it. Only 2 from the NL Central can make it. The problem there is that you could have 3 teams with really good records, and then that next record is a crappy team from the West and the AL that gets to go now because the Rays have 90 wins or whatever, but they're the 3rd team in the East. So they have to go home because of this rule that you created, because you don't want too many teams from the same division. And now somebody else gets an opportunity who had 80 wins and is playing under 500.
Next up and last up, we're going to head on over to Akron football, where they announced their offensive coordinator of the game, which was a fan contest that they ran for people that were famous. It kind of ended up in the final cut. Big Cat wanted to be on there from Barstool, a couple Twitter personalities. At the end of the day, they ended up picking Martin Allen Wims to be their Akron offensive coordinator of the game.
Marty, this is Andrew Goodrich. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing very well. I just wanted to give you an update on how everything's going today.
Okay.
So in roughly 15 minutes, we're going to do a social media post. And in that post, it is going to let you and the world know that you are the offensive coordinator of the game. Let's go, Marty.
Go, Marty. That's exciting.
It's absolutely awesome. I enjoyed talking to you the first time because I could just feel it in your voice, the passion for the Zips. And you're going to see an incredible reveal. I found out like everybody else did on the video. Just so happy for you. In all honesty, just so grateful that you've been a season ticket holder. And I hope that this is the absolute best college football experience you ever have in your whole life. And
I think it will be.
I know it will be.
So in their home opener, Marty there is going to be able to call one drive to start the game at some point in the first quarter.
So stupid.
What do you mean stupid? This is awesome.
So dumb.
Why is this dumb?
One play, cool. You're going to waste a drive.
Maybe he's good.
An entire drive.
Maybe he's good. You don't know. Have you met Martin Allen
Like
Wims?
if you're a college football player on that team and you know some season ticket holder is calling the plays on that opening drive, what are you thinking?
This is a circus, man.
Yep.
Like, this
is a complete joke. Why did I come here? Yes. I don't know how you could potentially feel any other way if you're a player on this team. From a marketing standpoint, brilliant. Brilliant. Got all kinds of national attention, all that. Here's the downside. Your program's a joke. No kid in their right mind would want to go to some school where they're letting a fan call an entire drive. Like, there's no way. There's no chance. Hey, Mom, Dad, I want to go to that school where the fans can call the plays from the stands. Can I go? I want to go there. If you're the dad, you're like, what is wrong with you? No, absolutely not. No,
I mean, Akron wasn't that bad. They were
go
5-7 last season.
I don't care.
So it wasn't even like they were like, well, that's why.
That's
to add to your point.
No,
like it would make more sense to do this if you were 1-8 and all the
if
players.
you were at your school.
Yeah, if all the players on the team knew you suck. So like this is something where like, okay, fine, whatever, let's try it. Let's see if it juices us up at all. But somebody came to the school thinking, okay, we got a kind of chance. And granted, they got killed 68-0 by Nebraska. Their first win came in week 4 against Duquesne University, 51-7. So like they weren't winning big games and they were losing pretty bad. So they're still not a good football team.
If Wisconsin ran the same promo,
this would be so dumb by them.
Okay, but how would the media react to it nationally? Would it be, oh, man, look at what Akron's doing, man. That's pretty cool, blah, 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 blah. Or would it be, what a complete joke and laughing stock.
Wisconsin came from
Wisconsin would get crucified for doing this. Akron does it because they're not a big Power 4 school, Power 5 school. And it's, oh, that's cute. Go to Akron and let the fan call it. No, stupid. Again, from marketing aspect, I think it's great. This fan's never going to forget it. Whatever, it's cool. But from the outside looking in and from a recruiting standpoint, you're not using that as a recruiting tool of trying to get somebody to come play for you.
No. Do you think Akron gets killed the same way and LSU gets killed for bringing in an NFL player that got cut by his team?
We'll talk about that coming up next. Yes, we will, because we haven't got to. The Big Ten and SEC making some proclamations yesterday about allowing pro players to come back to school and play for their universities. We'll get into that. Plus, we got to talk about Hard Knocks last night. We haven't talked about that yet either. That's all coming up. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. 2,000 square foot screen, 2 levels of seating, all kinds of seating options. Reserve your seat ahead of time by going to Potawatomi.com. Nominal fee, but that goes towards your food and beverage for that night, which is going to come from the Potawatomi Sportsbook kitchen, which is chef's kiss. So good, right? Full menu. You want burgers, hot dogs, wraps, wings, whatever. They got a full menu there. They got an all-day brunch going on. They got over 40 beers on tap, dozen different specialty cocktails on tap, plus the most delicious homemade desserts and pastries you're going to find at the Potawatomi Sportsbook kitchen. Plus, the Brewers return home this weekend. You got shuttles to and from Brewers home games, leaving at the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Got to make a $5 wager inside the Potawatomi Sportsbook, same-day wager. Ask for a bracelet. Tell them you're getting on the shuttle to give you a bracelet, and you're good to go riding the shuttle to and from the Potawatomi Sportsbook, which, by the way, is a very short drive from American Family Field to the Potawatomi Sportsbook. You're not driving 20 minutes on a bus and then 20 minutes back. It's literally right there. And then you got to pay the crazy prices that you have to pay to park. So take advantage of all that. Check them out today at Potawatomi.com. Welcome back. Wisconsin Sports Daily. See Sparky Pfeiffer with you. Did you miss what happened on today's show? Text Sparky to the Nicolay Law Talk and text line 414-677-1250 to get the link to today's show. It's always there available for you. Make sure to take advantage of that. Only a couple of minutes left. I think we're going to hold on to the Big Ten SEC conversation for tomorrow because I don't want to waste it in a 2-minute segment, Charlie, necessarily. Did you watch Hard Knocks last night?
I watched it this morning.
Yes.
I liked this episode probably the most out of all of them. I think there was the most action, whether it was not great action. Yeah, you had a couple of injuries. That was really unfortunate.
Diggs.
The Trayvon Diggs whole scenario, that was really cool. I like being inside like the meeting room for the leaders and stuff. That was a lot of fun. So yeah, overall, I would say this was probably my favorite. I'm still not 100% bought in on having the reigning Super Bowl champion be on Hard Knocks. I'd rather
it be a bad team.
Bad team where you have more storylines to create versus the ones that people kind of already know already. And Mike McDonald's boring as hell. So I want somebody that's more exciting.
So you had Mike McDonald crying.
Yeah.
He was crying.
That was his best.
How's that boring?
That was his best TV performance so far.
Oh my Lord.
That was his best performance so far out of all the episodes. Of the other episodes, he was so boring. He was a robot.
What about Schneider? You like him?
He's okay. He's just weird. I hate his treadmill. His treadmill makes me so angry, like irrationally angry. I don't know why.
I feel like, maybe I'm wrong, I feel like he relates really, really well to players.
Yeah.
Like really well. Like when he sits down with Diggs and he starts talking about, man, DePere, man, whatever.
He's just
and
real with
I was out in the right. Exactly.
He's just himself. Like he just goes and wants to have, he's straightforward whenever every time he's had an interaction with a player so far, it's straightforward.
Diggs straight up confessed, like, I wasn't myself last year. Like I could run, but I couldn't do what I wanted to do. And now I'm physically stronger. I can go back to being what I want to be. At which point I'm thinking to myself, did you talk to him?
Mm-hmm.
Did you think about it? Because it wouldn't have cost you much. You could have brought him in, see what it looked like in training camp, and then moved on if it didn't look good. That's what they're going to do. I promise you, that's what they're going to do. They brought him in. They're going to see what it looks like. If it doesn't look good, they're going to move.
Yeah, but the Packers did that already with him. That was last season. That was under last
listen
season.
to me. The Seahawks are the defending Super Bowl champions. They're rolling the dice on a potential issue in Terry and Arnold, or bigger than a potential issue. And now they're bringing Diggs in again, rolling the dice again.
That's more of a backup plan to Terry Arnold, even if it's a roll of the dice too.
Fine, but understand this. John Schneider willing to roll the dice and hope to catch lightning in a bottle, and then it's a huge upgrade. And if it doesn't work, whatever, then I'll just go with what I got on my roster already. But he's constantly pushing chips to see if he can find something that could be a steal for him. I don't necessarily get that with Goody. Yes, he got the guy in Micah Parsons, no question. And he deserves all the credit in the world for that. But when you have an issue at corner, which they do, that would have made sense if there were guys out there to funnel guys in and see if anybody can outplay anybody that you have on this roster. The Terry Arnold thing was not happening. That's not Packer people. That's not Packer way. No chance. Diggs you had in the house. You know he's boys with Micah Parsons. That could have made sense. They obviously have the reasons why they decided not to do it. Maybe they don't think he can get back to where he was, and he's selling John Schneider a false bag of goods here. We'll find out. But I like Schneider. I always have. Good dude. All right. Now wrap it up for today's Wisconsin Sports Daily program. Live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Coming up next, the leadoff show from 5 until 6 o'clock. We get you ready for Brewers and Mets, baby. Buddy. Game 2. It's got to go better than Game 1. We'll talk about that straight ahead here at 5 o'clock.